Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome to the 6th Borough podcast. We got to spout out a few of our sponsors. We're brought to you today by A&S Engineering. They'll handle all of your commercial and residential engineering needs. Check out their website. It's asengineeringservices.com. You can see some of the big commercial and the really unique residential properties that they've worked on and designed over the years. Our second sponsor is Municipal Land Survey. If you're on the island and you think you have a neighbor that put up a new fence, might be encroaching on your property lines, you're just wondering where it is, you need it staked, or maybe you put up a pool or a shed or a deck, you never got the proper surveys or permits for it, you can give Municipal Land Survey a call and they'll handle that for you. Their number is 631-345-2658. And last, but of course not least, we have Made to Thrive, an American t-shirt company. You could check them out online at madetothrive.us or on Instagram at madetothrive.us as well. So if you get a chance, they're the ones that allow us to be here for you guys. So check out our sponsors. Thank you very much.
Today's guest on the podcast is Anthony Guastello at Revamped Reality on Instagram. Check him out, a.k.a. Patchogue Jesus. You can search that hashtag if you want to see why he's earned that name. His Patchogue Jesus powers enabled him to go on a pretty epic cross-country trip that he documented on Instagram. And today he kind of walks us through that trip, how he planned it out, how it came to fruition, his inspiration, and some pretty interesting stories along the way. So tune in, and thanks for listening.
All right, guys, we're live. Let's do it.
All right, bitches. We got Anthony Guastello, a.k.a. Guas. Really, it's just Guas. That's all anybody calls you, right? I mean,
that's it.
Yeah, so you'll be referred to as Guas for the rest of this show.
He's got a pretty good other nickname also. Jesus of Patchogue.
Oh yeah, Patchogue Jesus.
Patchogue Jesus.
Patchogue Jesus.
This guy gave me that.
Yeah. Hashtag Patchogue Jesus. Lent still. Every time I mention it, he's like, "Oh, Patchogue Jesus."
Yeah, he brought it up when he was on the podcast last week. Actually.
Oh, right. I gotta check that one out.
You do. You look very holy right now. Very
Dude,
like
long
reverend.
hair. Got the beard. I just trimmed the beard though. So
I know. I'm real into the hair though. Like every time I see somebody that has really long hair. For everyone that knows me, I've had real bad hair since I was in my late teens, early 20s. I've essentially had the receding hairline since I was 19. And
it's a distinguished look.
It's a distinguished, but nobody wants to be distinguished when they're in high school or their first year of college. But I'm always super jealous of everyone with long hair. I really appreciate it. If I could grow my hair out, I would.
Well, thank you, man. Much appreciated.
We finally got you hair farming now. You've finally committed to the beard.
I do. I'm growing in. It's sort of connecting a little bit on one side. On the other side, the mustache isn't really connecting as well, but I'm crossing my fingers. Worst case scenario, I'm going to black it in with a marker.
Well, here you go. We just got one. Edge that bitch up
Go
right
let
now.
D-Rock do it. He'll do it sideways, dude.
Oh, man. That's what, I'm living the lefty dream. That's what happens when you're lefty.
Crooked as fuck.
But, so just a quick background. Guas and I have been friends for since first grade.
Yeah. Solid friend for the last 10 years.
Yeah, the last 10 years. We lost touch throughout high school, reconnected about 10 years ago, and we've pretty much hung out all the time since then. So, yeah, I've known Guas for quite a while. And honestly, even without your cross-country trip, you're a pretty interesting character anyway. Anybody who knows you knows
I appreciate
you're
that.
a pretty interesting character. But more than anything else, I mean, you're one of the only people I know, save for Nick Sandalina, who's one of our first guests on the podcast, who's planning his own cross-country trip right now on motorcycle. You're one of the only people I know that you talked about your desire to travel and you want to go across the country for a couple of years.
I've been working on it for a few years.
Yeah, I knew it was something you talked about and wanted to do, but you just...
It's a matter of manifesting it. It was,
Yeah, well, here's the thing. We had talked about, a bunch of people had talked about doing it, right? It was like a thing we were going to do together.
Well, that's how it started with me, you, and Tommy talking about, oh, yo, let's go cross country. I mean, we were talking about hitting up cities, different things like that. I had planned it, so that's actually what kind of got me started with this cross country trip, because I planned it for us in a sense, but it was totally different. It was the whole city route we were going to do. I even got as far as almost buying a van for us and shit like that.
Right.
But, you know, things went their separate ways. We never did it, but it was a good foundation for what I was going to do. And then getting started with it was, I'm like, all right, now I want to do national parks, and that's how I revamped the whole trip and worked on that. But as far as getting it going, it was, dude, it took me a while, but it was very easy planning in a sense.
Right.
All I would do is I would see pictures of national parks and be like, oh shit, that looks cool. I would love to go there. Write it in my phone. Do nothing about it. See another picture, write it in my phone. After a couple of years, I had a shit ton of national parks on my phone. And then when it was time, I'm like, you know, I really want to do this trip. I really want to start going. Had the map out already. Pinned every single freaking national park that I wrote down. And then just planned a route, the best route, as opposed to just zigzagging. I couldn't go. There was places I couldn't go because I would have to zigzag and it would have been too much time. So I planned a route, and then that was it, man. I mean, as far as planning it, it took a while, but I could have planned it, and you know, you could plan something like that in a week's time if you know where you're going. So it wasn't anything too crazy planning it, but you know, it worked out. That's for damn sure.
Well, what I think is even crazier about it is like the way it happened. Like you said, we talked about it for a while, and it was kind of like lukewarm. Everybody kind of like had their toes in the water, like talking about it. You know how it is when you're bullshitting with friends.
Of course.
Yeah, I'd love to do that. I'd love to do that. But you were real serious about it, and when things started fading away, and it didn't seem feasible for everybody, you know, you stuck with it, and then you know, you weren't always. Like as long as I've known you, you weren't always like big into the nature.
Yeah, passionate to it and all that, like I am now. Yeah.
Even before you got into it the way you did, you talked about this trip, and then all of a sudden, you know, when you got your dog, your dog became your companion. You started hitting up all the parks. Like you were always hitting up
every day, dude. Every single day, I would go to just the little pockets in Long Island. You know, the little nature preserves you got here and stuff like that. Every single day, you know, that was great. That's what started me in a sense.
Right. That's what I'm saying. Is that's like what kind of fueled your fire.
Yeah,
really
but also a huge inspiration was, as cliche as it can sound or corny as it can sound, was Instagram. Seeing other people doing this stuff was huge for me, you know, because without that, you don't know that. You don't know people. You do, I guess you do have a sense people are out there doing stuff, but you don't get to see it. When you actually see people doing it, that inspires you to do it. Like, wow, that's possible. That can be done. Let me, you know, man up and start. If I want to do this stuff, people are doing it. I can do it. And you see that stuff. You get inspired by it. And, you know, yeah, it's Instagram, and even with me, even with the pictures I post and stuff like that, I post it in a big way to inspire people, like to check this out. You know, you can be here too. You think this is beautiful? A lot of people say, "Yeah, I take beautiful pictures." Dude,
you do. That's why I've been up your ass about, you know, getting a little bit more serious about it, because I think the pictures that you've taken are very, very good. They're insanely beautiful, and I don't see a difference between, like, I follow some people on Instagram, photographers for like National Geographic, and I see the pictures you post and theirs, and if we put them side by side, people won't be able to tell the difference.
Yeah, you wouldn't even know the difference.
When I showed Eric your page, he, like, his jaw dropped.
Yeah,
and he didn't even know you.
Your pictures are real wonderful. If you don't mind having followers, if you want to plug your Instagram right now.
I mean, yeah, Revamp Reality, check it out, but, you know.
Spell that out, because, you know.
Really?
Yeah, really, because, listen, you never know. It might, sometimes the mic doesn't pick it up, and you got some people out there that aren't the best spellers.
You might want to.
You know what? I'm going to let that go.
I'm going to spell it for you. Revamped Reality, at Revamped Reality, REVAMPED Reality, REALITY. Because they need to see your fucking pictures. That's how good.
Dude, I mean, I appreciate.
Fuck you. I'm doing it for you.
I appreciate everybody. Me, I guess I'm very humble about it. I don't know. They're pictures. I take pictures. I look at it as, dude, they're beautiful because I'm taking pictures of beautiful places. Like, there's nothing I'm doing crazy with the camera or anything. I'm
the way it's
not about that.
Your eye, though, for what you're looking at is
I get it.
And it's like what you just said. It's the inspiration, right?
Yeah.
Because
without a doubt.
You saw other people's things, and it was like, wow, I can do it. So you need to pay it back now. and let these people see it, because you never know. If somebody sees something like that, they might be like, you know what, fuck it, yeah. If Guas can do it, I can do it too. So pay it forward.
Well, that's what I strive for, man. You know, people see that and get inspired, dude, and do it, because it's not as hard as people think it is. You know, it's really not. But
I personally think Instagram is a real wonderful thing because it allows the average person to see what other average people are doing or have the ability to do.
Yeah.
In hindsight, like growing up, you would think, oh, you might know of someone, or maybe like an older family member or relative has gone on like a cross-country trip, and it would be something that, oh, they planned out for years, and oh, this is a guy that really likes camping, he really likes hiking, that's his thing. And that's sort of how I always looked at it. Like, oh, that must be his thing, traveling, that's what he does. And to see like somebody normal doing it, somebody that I know doing it, it really like gives you, it lights the fire under your ass.
Yeah,
like,
without
oh,
a doubt.
this
It
is
can be done.
This
Yeah,
is
it
something
can
that
be
I
done.
could do.
Yeah.
And it's not such a big deal out as like sometimes you might make it in your own mind to be like some giant mountain you have to climb, or somebody would have to come up with a plan and save up money. But if you really want to do it, I mean,
Well,
you get a
see,
truck, get a tent. And
that's the thing. There
do some
could be
planning.
there could be a lot of planning involved. If you want to go to certain national parks and hike specific trails, camp in specific sites, and do specific things, yeah, it's going to take a lot more planning than what I did. Me, I'm just like, dude, I just want to go to national parks that I find beautiful and camp wherever. Wherever I can get camp, I get camp. Whatever trails are around for me to hike, I'll hike those. You're in a national park. It's going to be beautiful regardless of where you are. But yeah, if you want to see specific things, do specific things, yeah, it takes a little more planning than what I did. Me, like I said, I just pretty much winged the whole trip in a sense. But with today's technology, I mean, you can do that, no problem.
Yeah, you can definitely do that.
You know, it's not like I had a road map in my hand the whole time trying to figure out streets. I mean, you GPS something and you're there. I mean, I only had two instances where I didn't find my location.
Interesting. Oh, I drove cross country when I was 21, but this was 12 or 13 years ago, pre-GPS. And we had the Hagstroms, and I can't think of what the other map was. We had another big like manual, and we did make some wrong turns. And we wound up going the wrong way for a couple hours on several occasions. So now, like, you figure with modern technology and the internet being available on telephones,
it's so much easier.
You could just look up what's cool to do in an area when you're in an area. You don't need a manual. You don't need to stop and ask people.
That's what made it easier for me, too, to get camping every night. Because obviously I wasn't going from national park, waking up, driving to the next national park. I mean, there were instances where I did do that, but if it was like 12, 15-hour drive, I would just look up the nearest state park, say maybe 6-7 hours into it, and I would stop at the state park, pull in, get camp, go to sleep, and wake up, and then head off to the next park.
Yep. That was bringing up what I want to touch on next, is that you, even though you kind of winged the trip, you did take it pretty seriously, because didn't you go take camping lessons and shit like that?
Yeah,
like,
well, that's what.
for this.
Well, see, yes, I did do that, because you know what it was. It's like, 2015 was a crazy year for me, because it showed me that
what happened that was so crazy.
Like, just if you put your mind to certain things, if you get the gears going, things will happen. Things fall into place and things happen. And my whole thing was, I want to start doing camping. I mean, some people can just go and do camping. I figured, you know what? Let me sign up for some classes just to get a little knowledge on even, cooking, backcountry camping, little things. And if I go to these classes, it's going to propel me even more to continue doing what I'm doing. It's not like, I just want to go cross country. Let me sit back and wait for it to happen, and then hopefully eventually I go. It's like going to these classes where stepping stones to, okay, you're doing this now. My first actual, the first time I did backcountry camping was I went to a class. It was a class to backcountry camping, and it was out. I think it was it Ward Pond Ridge, somewhere up north in New York. Well, maybe about
upstate,
maybe about a 2-hour drive from here. It wasn't anything too crazy, but I'm like, why am I just going to drive all the way up there, go to this class, then drive home? Let me go up there and camp out first, and then I'll wake up in the park, and then I'll go to the class.
So you did it backwards.
So I did it backwards, exactly. But it was my first, dude. It was my first time doing backcountry camping. I had no idea what I was doing, but I'm like, fuck it, let me just do it. And I went there, dude. I got a site, and I think it was only maybe like a 2 or 3 mile hike. I had to go to my campsite because I want to do something backcountry. I had other camping, but me, I was so focused on backcountry because I felt that's what I'm going to be doing across the country. I might as well get used to it. And I did that, and it was, what was it? It it wasn't winter, but it was like, I don't know, I want to say March. There was still snow on the ground and shit. And beautiful hike, and I get there, and I'm trying to make a fire. And me, like, it was stupid. Like, I could have just brought my matches, brought my lighter, brought paper, did all this stuff and made a nice fire. But me, I'm like, oh, I got my magnesium fire starter, which is like this thing where you like scrape magnesium and then you spark it and it lights. And I'm trying to use this thing because I want to know how to, just in case I ever have to use it. Just trying to,
You want to be prepared. You're going to be in the middle of nowhere, like.
I like how you have that. Sorry, the balance of like, I'm gonna make fire the primitive way, but I got my GPS on my cell phone.
Oh man, yeah. But yeah, so I do that, and like I said, there was snow on the ground, and it was wet. Everything was wet. So, dude, it took me like, I want to say a good 2 hours just to get like a decent fire going. And I got it going, but it was like so small because everything around it was wet. But it was like practice for me. It was like, can I do it? And I did it. Looked at it for a couple minutes, and I basically went to bed. But this was actually a huge rookie mistake. When I went to buy my camping gear at REI, and they tell what do I need? I'm doing backcountry, tents.
What's REI?
It's a camping place where I get all my equipment and shit. And, you get your tent, you get your sleeping bag and all this stuff. And they're like, you want a sleeping pad? I'm like, what? They're like, you lay down on the ground so you can sleep on it. And I'm thinking, I'm camping. You're supposed to be laying on, you're supposed to be laying in the tent. Like, and I'm like, yeah, exactly. And I'm like, you know what? No, I'll pass on a sleeping pad. So set up my tent, get ready. I'm like, yeah, baby, time to go to bed. Dude, the second I laid on the ground without a sleeping pad, I was like, this is a bad idea. Super bad idea.
Because you feel every rock, every stick,
not even that.
The dampness.
That and the dampness, the cold. Like, the cold, like, right when you lay down, it was like, holy shit. Like, it's fucking, like, I can get fucking hypothermia like this. So, basically what I ended up doing, I ended up opening my bag up and laying that down in my tent and sleeping on that. And, excuse me, ended up sleeping fine and waking up, hiking back and going into class. Even the dude's like, you slept here? He's like, you never camped before and you slept here? I'm like, yeah, I figured I'm here for fucking camping. Why not try it out on my own, And,
maybe take the class and then camp afterwards? I don't know.
Well, I wouldn't get home after the class,
Get somewhere to be.
But yeah, that was my first camping experience. And it turned out, besides the whole fucking sleeping bag incident, it turned out great. It was fucking awesome. I actually want to go back to that place and do it again because it was a cool spot.
You only did one class?
Well, I did a class on cooking, which was at REI, which was at the place. And then I did 3 classes. Did a class on cooking, then I did that backcountry class, and then after that I did a class on how to read map and compass.
Which you didn't use at all because you have a cell phone.
Yes, I did not use it all, but I didn't need the The thing about the map and compass, you don't need the compass. You need the map. It was great to learn how to read the map, to learn how to know what all the lines were on the map, what everything meant on what is it called, a topographical map?
Yeah,
I think
it's a topographical map.
Yeah.
They show the elevation.
Yes,
changes.
exactly.
You know how many feet.
Exactly. The closer the lines, the steeper the mountain is. All that stuff I would have never known. So it was good to get that aspect of it. The whole compass thing. Compass, you're only like, I know how to, now if I'm looking on a map and I have a compass with me, I could actually pinpoint my location on a map by using my compass and looking at certain points and figuring out, okay, that's where that is on a map, that's where that is on a map, drawing a line and connecting and it'll show you exactly where you're on the map.
But you could have had Eric Ott teach you that. Isn't that like what you do with the survey?
Yeah,
it's pretty similar, right?
Yeah, we also make the maps primarily, but I do know how to read them and navigate with them.
But again, to use that, you have to be, if you're in the woods surrounded by trees, obviously you're not going to be able to see where the fuck you are on a map,
Yep.
So the compass, that wouldn't have came in handy for where I was. But it was good to learn.
Based upon the pictures that I'm seeing on your Instagram, you weren't in the woods too much. It looks like you have some really great pictures.
Oh, dude,
of
mountains. I was everywhere,
looks
man.
Beautiful.
Everywhere. Yeah, if you scroll down more, you'll scroll to the beginning of when I started of the trip.
So right now we got Guas's Instagram page on that's at Revamped Reality, and it's, dude, these pictures are insane. You're crazy to not think that you don't have great pictures.
Dude, I'm not. I just
you're just a little too modest for your own good.
That's why I'm your friend, because I'll talk all the shit I can. I'll be your ego.
I'm looking at
I appreciate that.
I'm looking at a picture of a buffalo right now that's better.
Bison,
a bison. It's better than any picture I've ever taken myself personally.
Dude, that was a sick day.
That is the craziest. That's so sick. What is that?
Yeah,
Tetons?
Grand Tetons. Yeah, that park is absolutely amazing.
We're looking at a picture of a lake and snow-capped mountains with like the pink, fluffy clouds behind it. Dude, that's such a sick picture.
Dude, first time I laid eyes on that in person, bro, I sat there for hours, bro, just staring at that. It was absolutely amazing.
Even a 6 shot of Mount Rushmore, like, and there's a million shots of that, but
yeah,
the way you capture it.
Yeah, Guas, you're selling yourself a little short, thinking that you don't have. First, all right. Here's the thing, and this is obviously just my opinion. The pictures themselves, I think you have a good eye to get the angles and really paint a picture of how you saw it. Because when I look at your pictures, I know, and knowing you, obviously, I think this gives me a little bit more insight into some of your pictures. But, and correct me if I'm wrong here, but I think that's what you're striving for. You're trying to take a picture, not to be picturesque for the sake of it being picturesque, but you're taking a picture, because I know you communicated with us during this trip, to show us kind of like, yo, this is exactly how I see it. And honestly, I think that comes across in your pictures. And not to mention, I appreciate the work behind the picture. Like, you had to put in literally the groundwork to get.
Oh yeah, without a doubt, dude. Some hikes I did were, to get these were.
But that in and of itself makes these pictures pretty valuable, in my opinion, because you had to work to get. You had to earn the sites that you got. It was like a reward, and I think that's what makes them.
How long exactly were some of the hikes you had to get to some of these like real picturesque places?
Well, it all depends. I mean, there were so many. The most I did was, I think the Grand Canyon was 22 miles. I think I did.
And how long did it take to travel 22 miles? Did you camp out along the way?
Yeah, I did camping. It didn't take to get, because obviously going down the Grand Canyon, I was hiking down it, so it only took me, I think it was like maybe 10 miles down. That's actually, that picture was from War Pond Ridge. That was actually a picture from when I did the whole the backcountry I just told you about before my class. Cool. That was from that.
Epic beard right there.
Yeah, dude, my beard. That was my beard was at the most in that picture, dude.
You truly are the Patchogue Jesus.
Yeah.
Well, there's the Patchogue Jesus thing. We were sitting down one night, and Guas was sitting there with his hands like this, like prayer hands, and the beard was epic. So I caught him like that, and I snapped a picture of him without him knowing, and I hashtagged the Patchogue Jesus, and that's how it started.
So you may have coined the term.
Oh, absolutely did.
Oh, he did, without a doubt.
Yeah. Because it just so happened, because he was sitting there like this with his hands, like prayer hands, almost resting on his chin, and I just happened to catch him slipping.
Frozen beard.
Yeah.
So I have a couple camping questions for you. So I know that you camped. Did you camp entirely across when you took the trip?
Yeah. Yes. I mean, every now. Let's see. I was on the road for 6 weeks. I probably got out of that whole time. I think I got like maybe 5 or at most 6, but I think more 4 or 5 hotels throughout or motels throughout the whole time.
Sort of just to clean yourself up.
Yes, exactly. Laundry, all that good stuff, and and that was pretty much it.
So the rest of the time you were intense. Were you always in specific like campgrounds that were designated for camping, or were you freestyle?
No. Some of it, a lot of it was campgrounds, but others. Spots were backcountry, which is where you have to hike to your own designated campsite.
Oh, so it's a designated. It's not like you just pull over on the side of the road.
No, you're not supposed to.
Okay.
Like even with me, when I first started getting into camping, I'm thinking, oh, I want to do backcountry. I can just hike anywhere and camp anywhere. You can, but you're not supposed to. They didn't want you to do that. There's specific backcountry sites that you're supposed to go to for protection reasons, so they know where you are and stuff like that.
Yeah, I guess that is good. In case something happens, they know where all the people are supposed to be, so they're not going to have to go out looking for you wherever.
Exactly. And also, they don't want you damaging the land. People just setting up tents anywhere, and they're ruining the land that's out there. That's why they have sites.
Yeah, I guess when there's thousands, tens of thousands of people
there's a lot of
people.
Yep.
So you ran into a lot of people along the way?
A lot of people along the way. And the best part about it is all the people I ran into were kind of doing the same thing. They were all doing a cross-country trip. and they were all, for the most part, coming from the opposite direction.
Cool.
So it was like they would give me information on parks they just came from that I was going to, and vice versa. I would give them information on parks. They're like, oh yeah, I'm going
That's
there.
cool.
Oh, go to this campsite, hike this.
You
Is what
probably
I did.
stay away from this one. It's not as good as this other place.
Or I couldn't get camp here. It was packed. You might want to try somewhere different. It was good communication.
Now, these campsites that you were camping at, do they all have like an infrastructure there, like running water and showers of some magnitude?
Do, some don't.
Okay.
The main, like Yosemite, they have showers,
the big ones,
laundry,
right?
and all that. But there were a lot of other ones where no, you would piss and shit in a hole pretty much, and they had running water and all that in some of the bathrooms and all that, but some didn't. It was just very primitive. But that's, dude, you're getting into camping. I mean, that's what you gotta expect. They have the people that buy like those crazy tents. I forgot what they're called, but they're basically like houses you can go to set up in the woods that have plumbing and all this crazy
plumbing
shit. Yeah, dude. Like, to me, that's not camping. But hey, if that's your thing, you just want to be out in nature and you want to have the quantity of all that shit, that more power to you.
That reminds me of when I was like younger, and you'd hear about some like you'd be at a party with family, and someone would say, "Oh, we go camping every year," and then you'd find out that they were really like going somewhere in their giant motor home.
Yeah.
That has air conditioning and a satellite TV on the top. And the whole time they're telling you these camping stories, and you're picturing them next to like a babbling brook with stones, and they're like skinny dipping at night. And meanwhile, they're in this giant trailer that's more luxurious than my home.
Yeah. I mean, there are those people, and there are also people who do have the campers, but are actually like, dude, I ran into couples that are like, yeah, we've been on the road for the past 10 years.
Really?
Like living in their camper, just going through Canada, going through the United States, going everywhere. It's like, wow. And these people were like in their like, maybe 50s, 40s, 50s. Like, it was like unbelievable. The people, you meet and hear their stories on what they're doing. It's like, holy shit, man.
Were a lot of the stories similar, or were they all very varied?
Well, no. They did. Everybody has their own story. But for instance, like, okay, so let me, if you don't mind, I'll cut into like starting my trip because it'll.
Yeah. I actually wanted to get into
that
some
story.
of that anyway. So yeah, it's perfect.
But the first place I went to was, let's see, me and my dad. Okay, so after planning this trip, I tell my parents, this is what I'm going to do. My dad gets wind of it, and he's like, I would love to do that. I want to see that stuff. And right away, I shut him down. I was like, no, Dad, like, no, it's not. I'm doing backcountry camping, a lot of hiking. Like, you're not going to be able to hang, Dad. It's just not going to work out. And he was, and then I thought about it for a day. It probably didn't even take me a day. I probably thought about it for a couple hours, and I was thinking, I'm like, you know what? If I don't take him with me, he's never going to see this stuff. He's never going to do it on his own, and he'll never get to see it. So I'm like, I go and go, you know what, Dad? Yeah, come with me. We'll go out. We'll get your camping gear. We'll get all that stuff, and you'll do that. You'll do the whole northern United States with me, and I'll fly you out. You'll fly out of San Francisco. You'll see so much. And the best part about it, I was on the road for 6 weeks. I think I already stated that, but I was on the road for 6 weeks, and the best part of the trip were the first 2 weeks with my dad. Not only because I was with him, which was great. We had an amazing bonding experience. It was a great trip, but the most beautiful part of the country, I feel, is the northern route. Just going where I went to, the parks I went to, that is the most beautiful part of this country.
That was another question I wanted to ask you. I know there's multiple routes that take you across country. You said you took the northern route?
Yeah.
So that was... Want to tell our listeners what it's like, what states you go through, and what parks you...
Well, I mean, you can go there. Are a lot of states that you can consider the northern route. Mm-hmm. My route was basically... The first night, me and my dad we drive 12 hours the first day, and we make it all the way to Indiana. Mm-hmm. And basically what we did, my first national park was the Badlands. That was my first...
What's that? Where is that?
That's in... no, not Wyoming. What's the fucking... South Dakota.
South
Dakota. So after we get to the first spot, Indiana, 12-hour drive there, we camp out, we just go to a state park and camp out there.
Did you map out a state park to go to, or you just got to Indiana, found one?
Got to Indiana and found one, and that was it. Okay. Then after that, we made it to Omaha. Just went through Omaha. Then got another state park, found another state park, camped, and that was it. Then after that, Then after that was the Badlands.
Okay.
We make it to the Badlands, and I forgot what my point was, but anyway, we make it to the Badlands. We get there. We only stayed one night. We got Badlands was beautiful too, amazing place. My dad didn't want to do the hike there, because all the driving and shit like that. So he opted out of the hike. I ended up doing some hike. Maybe it was a couple mile hike. I forgot exactly what trail I took. I forgot the name of it, but it was sick.
Did you just give me a quick yes or no on this? I don't diverge you from your story too much. Did you hit hike routes when you got there? You just picked one, or did you plan hike routes out at the parks too?
No, I just winged it. Basically, when I got there, I'm like, okay, this is the closest. This is where I can hike. I'm gonna go hike this trail. Okay. I didn't have anything specific. Of course, when you think on the grand scheme of things of if I'm going to Yosemite, I would love to see Yosemite Falls or something like that. There's certain things if I'm going to parks I would like to see, but I wasn't putting my money on it. I was just going to a park. What nearest campsite do you have open? Oh, this one's open. To pull into that campsite and then figure out what trails are around and then just do that.
Okay.
So, but the Badlands really, compared to other national parks, Badlands isn't too big. So it wasn't, I got there, I got my camp and hiked the nearest trail, and there was maybe a few more trails, but the one I did was pretty dope. I ended up, I'm getting out of the trail. I'm hiking back to my tent, and I see some chick, and she's like struggling to get down. She's like crab walking down this one area, and I'm just like, you all right? Like, you no? She's like, oh no, I'm fine. And we started bullshitting for a while. Turns out she actually just sold a house in Seattle, I believe it was. She was coming from, and she was doing a cross-country trip to New York for like a high school reunion or some shit like that. So that was pretty wild, and we ended up talking, and she's like, I'm like, I have camp set up down there. There's a campsite. She didn't get camp yet. And she's like, all right, so maybe I'll see you back there. And I go back to my campsite. My dad's like, yeah, there was just this girl here. She mentioned, your name, and she set up camp right over there. I was like, oh, yeah, I know. I know. I just met her on the trail. And she knew it was my dad right away. Like, when she saw, I guess because of the voice, the way my dad looks in the voice. Like, a lot of people say I look like him, and sound like him.
You definitely do.
So, yeah, she knew it was my pop right away. And she ended up making camp, and she's setting up her tent. And I'm like, I set up my tent. I staked my tent down and all that. And she didn't stake her tent down. I'm like, you don't stake your tent down? She's like, no, I haven't been staking it down. I said, all right, do what you got to do. And she went to the bathroom, I guess, to go, wash up, whatever she had to do. It gets crazy windy. Her tent flies away. So I actually saw it, and I went over there, and I grabbed it, and I'm holding it, and I'm waiting for this chick to get back so, we could set it up, the proper way. And she's like, taking forever, and I'm out here holding her tent, like in the middle of like a fucking, a windstorm and shit. And finally she comes back, she sees it, she's, oh my god, I'm like, we got it. And then we stake her tent down.
Then you staked her down?
No. Unfortunately, it didn't work like that.
Oh, that wasn't the Tinder trail that you were on?
No, definitely not. But we actually chilled at the Badlands, dude. The sky, there was no moon and no clouds, no nothing, dude. No overcast. The sky was ridiculous. Probably the best sky I've ever seen. And prior to this trip, I was doing a lot of bonfires in my backyard, just hanging out, just prepping my mind for the trip. And I would sit outside my backyard and I would look up at the stars and I would look for constellations. And in the summer sky, I had, I think, like 10 constellations where I could point out, where I knew which ones, where they were, what they were, and all that shit. And when I was at the Badlands, and we're talking about the stars and stuff like that, I'm trying to show her constellations, and there's so many stars in the sky, I could barely make them out because that's how many stars were in the sky. Like, it was just
all the light pollution in New York. Mm-hmm. You're not used to it.
The light pollution actually to find the constellation you can see actually helps in a sense.
That's what I mean.
Yeah,
because you can see only seeing the brightest of the brightest
stars
out
there, dude. You saw, Milky Way from freaking horizon to horizon, everything. It was amazing.
So that's probably why you couldn't give her the steak, because she's like, this guy.
This guy doesn't see shit. Exactly. I'm like, that's that, and then I'm like, wait, no,
you can't even find Orion. This guy can't even find Orion's belt over here.
No chance of this guy finding the G spot.
So then, after that, she ended up, we parted ways, and dude, that night was crazy windy. Like, people in their campers were like, they got up the next morning, like that shit was crazy. Like, I don't know how you guys slept in tents that night. Like, I had my tent tied off and all that stuff, but a lot of people left the next day, including us, because we were only there for one day. But yeah, it was a crazy winter night, but we made it, and it was Badlands was dope. That was like the first major national park that I've been to, and my dad, and that was just like the start.
So that set the precedent for the rest of the trip.
Exactly. After that was Mount Rushmore. Mount Rushmore was...
Before you get into Mount Rushmore, I have a question for you. Why was your dad only with you for the first 2 weeks?
Because I needed to do some of it on my own. He could even when we were at San Francisco, before we got to San Francisco, he used to say, "Oh man, I could do the whole thing with you." And it was like, Dad, I did the first 2 weeks was, I don't want to say like I did it for him. I told him he can come along because, like I said, he wouldn't have seen this stuff. But this main trip was about me. It was about me doing something on my own, and realizing I accomplished something on my own. And I needed to have that aspect of the trip with me for a good remainder of that trip. That's why I said, Dad, San Francisco would be that's your spot where, you fly out. And he respected that.
Did that make you appreciate, though, the time you spent with him? Even
of
more
course, dude, trust me, we had a tough time leaving each other at the airport, bro. Tough time. That was, that was pretty special. But yeah, it definitely made it hard. But of course, I appreciate it a lot more. And like I said, that northern route was the best part of the trip, and not only because he was with me, it's because it's a beautiful, beautiful area of this country. It was, truly amazing, man. And me and my dad, we did bond. We did have a lot of talks. I mean, I'm not gonna get into deep with my dad. You know a lot about my dad, his issues. We had a lot of talks about that and stuff. Like even saying, like, Dad, like this trip is put here for you to realize things that we were talking about that I don't want to say, but you know what I'm saying.
I understand.
But I'm like, you're on it because he was talking about that, and I'm like, this trip is put here for you to realize these things and make you rethink your life and do like this is not only for me, this is for you too, Right. And I didn't just bring him along knowing that was the purpose of the trip, but being on the trip with him, talking to him about certain things, you realize this is the purpose of the trip, and I'm trying to nail it into his skull like that. This is the purpose of this trip for you, is for these certain reasons that I'm not going to get into, but
right. To address some demons almost.
Yeah, exactly. Right? And to make him think, to like he's doing it too. That's a big, even though I planned it all and I took him with me basically, but he got up, he did it himself, he's camping out with me, he's doing this stuff too, he's realizing that he can do it too. Granted, with his bad knees and bad back and all that shit, he's doing it too, and he's fucking loving every minute of it.
Well, your dad's kind of a wild man anyway.
Oh, dude, yeah. His fucking nickname work was Crazy Rich, man. That dude with the fights and the fucking everything with him, dude. He was a total nutbag.
Do you think that the trip accomplished its goal? Like, without getting too personal about the things, do you think that it accomplished its goal in terms of like giving you and your dad the bonding experience, and obviously probably healing some wounds between the two of you and addressing things for him? Do you think it had like obviously it had a huge impact on you?
Yes, on me it had a very big impact. I mean, not from his point of view or with him at all, just from myself it had a huge point of view. With him, if something like, how can it not impact you? But did it impact him to a point where now he's enlightened, if I should use that word? No, it didn't. Okay. So, he's a very troubled individual, and he's still dealing with his troubles.
But did it help?
Yes, I'm sure it did. Even afterwards, dude, like I even made him a scrapbook of the pictures and stuff like that, so he could look. I'm like, Dad, take a look at this stuff.
Sometimes it helps just to remember, the way you felt the way you felt at like a given time. I've always found that my greatest advances in self growth or self reflection are when I break away from like the mundane reality of the day to day, and I get to really like go away and do something, and I'm away from the normal people that I'm around, and I'm just sort of by myself, or maybe with like one or two other people sort of doing our own thing, and you see, look, other people live this way, look, there's beauty in other places, and that small little box that I live in for 95% of my life isn't all there is. There's a lot more out there, and it almost like it sombers you and grounds you. For sure. And I don't know. I've always felt that people should always go on trips. I feel bad when I meet somebody and So I have a lot of travel stories because I've traveled all over the earth, and I try to take every opportunity I can to travel. But sometimes you'll meet somebody and they'll tell you, "Oh, I've never left the country," or "I've never left the state."
Yeah. Oh, dude, a lot of people never left the state. A lot, man.
Or they, oh yeah, they'll talk about their trips, and it's, yeah, I go to one of the islands, like some resort on Jamaica, some American corporate run resort in the Cayman Islands, wherever.
Yeah,
and
but
it's
in that sense, to each his own, because as long as they're getting out and doing something. But again, it Cayman Islands and all that, all-inclusive trip.
Yeah,
no, that's not for me. That's not for someone like you.
You're not getting that cultural experience. I love to see how other people live. I love to see what nature has given us as gifts of beauty.
Dude, it's given us too much, and oh man.
And I feel like we don't respect that.
No.
People will go to Disneyland or Universal Studios and they'll talk about, oh, look at Harry Potter World, they built the whole castle. And I'm in my head thinking, like, I've been in the Middle East on the top of a 200-foot sand dune at sunset, and that'll like blow away any man-made item just about ever.
So a girl I dated a long time ago, like her family, they were part of the Disney Vacation Club or something like that, and Disney owns properties and different things like all around the world. You can go anywhere in the world. They chose to go to Disney twice a year, every single year, and I'm like, why? What changes? But if you can experience all those, like if you want to go once a year and then you go to Ireland or you go to Africa or you go somewhere, what's the draw there? What's missing?
But again, it's whatever you feel like doing, man. That's their thing. So just like even with this whole cross country thing, there's people that look at me like, what? You camped out in national parks? Like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Like people at my job and stuff like that. Like, and you see how closed in, like we were saying, people just live in this box, how closed off they are to some things. But I mean, then again, I shouldn't really say that because again, like I was saying, like. Some people just aren't into nature. Me, I personally, like, how can you not be? But again, some people are into fucking going to Disney World and spending every year in Disney World.
Twice a year, every year.
But you know what? I feel like people. I look at myself as an example of that. I was the type of person. When I was younger, I never wanted to do anything that had to do with nature. Even up until I want to say my late 20s, I just wasn't entertained. Oh, you know what? I'm not into that wood stuff. I'm not into doing this. I want to go to the city. I'll go to the city. I want to go to the nightclubs. I want to go to the restaurants. I want to see what the metropolitan areas have to offer. And I feel like I really missed out on a lot of trips. Like I said, my first trip across the country, I didn't really stop at any of the natural landmarks. I stopped in the cities, and I did a lot in the cities, but I never really looked at like the beauty of what like Mother Earth has to offer.
Cities give me anxiety, dude. I hated driving through the cities. I don't like. I want nothing to do with cities. I was just, dude. Even like when I would technology GPS my route, I would pick like how it'll give you like 3 different routes. Mm-hmm. I would always pick the one that's going through either a national forest or something green on the map. If that's where it's going, even if it's gonna take me an hour or 2 longer, that's the fucking that's the path I'm taking because I want to drive. I want to be off the grid in a sense. I want to be driving through these forests, see the beauty things that I find beautiful, like I said, nature and all that stuff. Mm-hmm. And that was great. And technology helped me out, plenty on that. But let me think where I was with the. Oh, okay. So after Badlands was Mount Rushmore. Went to Mount Rushmore, and that was a great thing for my dad to see. Of course, every father wants to see some shit like that. Mount Rushmore.
Is that something that should be on every American's bucket list? Because it's definitely on mine. But was it like one of those things? Like, yeah, somebody made that.
Yeah, it's amazing, dude. And it's amazing. You go there and you find out how they made it and stuff like that. It's definitely amazing to see. I mean, if that was taken out of my trip, would I be crazy disappointed? No, but it was actually because people told me, oh, it's mad, it looks a lot bigger in pictures, it's mad small and all this stuff. I got that thing was fucking huge. Mm-hmm. I'm like, what the fuck are people talking about? And I'm thinking,
faces on a fucking
like what are these people talking about? And then there's trails that are around it that you go hiking around and stuff like that. And
most people probably didn't hit those.
No.
Just go look at the mountain.
Those trails around Mount Rushmore are pretty paved and pretty basic. So if some people don't, some people do.
Like Starbucks basic. Like white girl basic?
It was basic. But Mount Rushmore was definitely cool to see. Excuse me. So after Mount Rushmore was Devil's Tower. Mm-hmm. And again,
What's that?
It's like this fucking...
You got to elaborate on some of these things.
There's a picture of it. That's the one with the plateau on the top?
Yes, exactly.
Let's see the picture.
Formed by, like, volcanic rock or some shit. I forgot exactly how it was formed. But it's pretty amazing. There's UFO stories on it. There's ancient Native American stories on it about... what constellation is that? Pleiades, is it?
Pleiades is the torch.
Is it? I forgot exactly what it's supposed to be, but I think that's constellation. That's supposedly, there's a story behind that, and Devil's Tower, some shit. I don't know the full story, but yeah, look it up.
What state is Devil's Tower in?
Wyoming, I believe.
In Wyoming,
I believe, yeah, because Mount Rushmore was in South Dakota, and then I believe I could be wrong, but I believe it's Wyoming. Wyoming was my favorite state. Yeah, you got to keep on going on.
This is like the start of the trip.
That's down right where I'm hiking right there. That's Devil's Tower.
That's Devil's Tower?
That's Devil's Tower. So, when we're at Devil's Tower, that picture of me, we're hiking around it again, dude. You get to Devil's Tower.
Who took that picture? Your dad?
My dad, yeah. And we get to Devil's Tower, and there's like this paved path around Devil's Tower. And that's where everybody's hiking. And we start hiking that, and you're basically looking at Devil's Tower, but you're so close to it, you're breaking your neck looking up at it. And I'm looking on my map, and I'm like, Dad, there's other trails around here. I'm like, let's get off this path, and let's go find other trails. So we end up getting off the path, dude.
And this is the caption on
on
the picture that you put up, the caption says, Dad. So your dad said this.
Yes.
Glad we didn't stay on the path that I want to stay on. With all the other people, we would have never gotten this view. And you said that's the difference between a tourist and an explorer, huh?
Yes, that's what I quoted to him, which I thought was pretty dope. But so we get off this path and we start hiking the path you see that I'm on now, dude. That went for like 2 miles, and that's the view you had of Devil's Tower pretty much the whole way, just different angles from it, and it was absolutely amazing. I mean, there's more pictures of it you'll see on the page of Devil's Tower, and that was an amazing hike because you could tell my dad appreciated it so much as well, as so did I. And dude, it was that was a great experience. Devil's Tower was awesome.
That's a crazy picture.
But
photography must run in the blood, huh? Your dad's
well, no, we did, dude. He took like 80 because I guess he held the button down, so I had like a burst of 80 pictures on it of the same thing. I'm like, all right.
I was like, why do I have no memory left on my phone? What the fuck just happened here?
I have 200 pictures of me within like a half second.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. But before I forget, what you were saying before, Eric, you saying how earlier in your life you weren't really big into the nature thing, and like even part of your cross-country trip you missed out on things. Mm-hmm. I think there's value in some of that, though. There's value in those experiences because you're still getting perspective, even though it's not the nature part. Mm-hmm. And without that experience, maybe it wouldn't have given you the appreciation that you have it for
that I have for it now. I say that about a lot of things with my life. I was I don't want to say closed-minded, but real focused on the things that I'm real focused on whatever it is that I'm into at the time.
Right.
And in my younger days, like I said, I was real focused on the metropolitan. What are the people doing? What is the feeling of the times, like the zeitgeist, like what's going on?
Right.
And that's what I was very interested in. What kind of music do they listen to in Detroit? What are they doing in Chicago? Where are we going to go when we get to Las Vegas? Who do we know and what's going on? But I neglected all of Mother Nature and all these like beautiful things. But now in my late 20s, I feel like I'm in my 30s now, but in my late 20s, I sort of realized, whoa, there's like a whole other aspect to this planet that I haven't explored at all. So it's really new and exciting to me now. And this is the way I like to paint the picture with all this nature stuff. I just like picture you were somebody in the 1800s or the 1700s, and you were crossing the country in like a wagon, and next thing you know, you get that view of the Devil's Tower on your horse-drawn buggy.
That's how things became national parks, put into place now, because people would see this stuff and be in awe, like, you can't get rid of this stuff. This has
actually
to be
Teddy Roosevelt.
Teddy, yes. So Teddy Roosevelt, huge on that.
If you came up on that in the 1700s or the 1800s, you'd be like, holy fuck. I can't even believe this is fucking real.
Yeah.
Like, that's literally what you'd say. It would be like the equivalent of a UFO coming down and landing in front of you now.
Which they think happened at Devil's Tower.
I wonder about that, though.
Sure.
See, I wonder about that, though. See, this is my take on this.
But nobody would expect to see that in that type of landscape or terrain. That's like an anomaly. So it would be something totally out of the ordinary that you would go back and tell stories about, and it would almost be like folklore. Like, oh, there's supposed to be this mountain, except the whole top is flat, and it's out in Wyoming, and all there is these.
But
grassy
again, back
hills
in that
around it.
time too,
Everything was wide open.
Everything was wide. Like to find that in the country back then would. That's needle in a haystack.
Well, this is what I mean. This
But-
is why I think your experience is a little bit valuable, because I understand what you're saying, and I don't disagree with your point, but I also think back then there were no fucking cities. People back then didn't get to experience what we get to experience now.
They were a
So
little more used to things in nature.
Exactly.
Right.
Whereas now, with our experience, we can get to do both, and I think that's pretty awesome. And your specialization.
I feel like this, like coming back and telling the story of something like that, would be held in the same like esteem as coming back and telling the story of like Medusa or some type of Loch Ness monster. Like people might not believe you, or it's in that same sphere of
I get it.
maybe,
This
but
might
it's
be
real.
This might be an outlier. Like this is one of those special natural formations or things that is different. A lot of the other pictures where we look at them and we're like, holy shit, that's beautiful, because we're so used to urban, suburban lifestyles. But there's also still there's goods in that too. There's amazing architecture. I just spent last week in the city, for work, and it's still kind of amazing. In Manhattan, sometimes you just stop and look at it, and you're like, holy shit, it's pretty
People
fucking
built
crazy.
it, man.
Yeah, it's
people
crazy.
built that.
It's,
You give them credit for that. I mean, nature's beautiful in its own way, and so we got our modern. That's beautiful in the same way as well.
Yeah, you have to take both those things in. Like it's those people that kind of push out one or the other. Like, oh, I only need nature. Oh, I only need the city.
Well, that was me. I was real big into. I used to travel specifically to see like buildings. When I would travel through Europe, I'd say, I'd want to see this church. I want to go to I want to go to this monastery because I feel like it's real interesting and I've read about it before, and I feel like I maxed that out, and I sort of optimized my focus, and then now I'm a little bit older and I want to go in mud baths and hot springs and things like that.
But that's good, because if you do that, it allows you to go real deep into that and explore every level of it, right? Because you have that focus on it. So you get to go super deep into that focus, and once you feel like you've accomplished it and scratched that itch, now that you're opened up this new door to the nature, and you can go just as deep on that, and you get the full picture.
You're exploring a different avenue now.
Yeah,
now
and you're going deep into
it. Right.
Yeah. That's what you get, the full experience of both ends, and I think that's a good thing.
Yeah, without a doubt.
Because Guas did this whole trip in the last 3 weekends where we're hanging out. I can't get this guy to be interested in going out and doing anything social that doesn't involve rocks and fucking water. He wants no part of it now.
Dude,
it's crippled him socially.
Like, are there leaves there?
Yeah.
Wait, there's other people?
Yeah, sorry.
Within 100 miles? No,
Tell me I don't have to. I can't wash my balls with a fucking wet nap. I'm not interested.
Wet naps. No, you're getting too advanced. You use some leaves and shit. Like, come on.
After Mount Rushmore, what was the next stop?
Well, Devil's Tower was after
Devil's Tower,
and then after that was the Tetons, and that was an experience of its own.
That's very big for climbers, right?
Yeah, people do hike them. Yes, they do. They probably climb as well. I didn't hike the Tetons at all. The actual mountains of the Tetons.
A buddy of ours actually.
I know.
The Tetons.
I remember you telling me that. That's the same one you went rock climbing with.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, Alex Spiro, good guy. He did the whole hike of the Tetons.
That's sick. That's really dope. Me, when I was there, I actually did. It was actually the biggest hike I did to the start of the trip. It was a 10-mile hike. It was like maybe a little over 10 miles. Like 5.5 there, 5.5 back, whatever. 5 and a couple. It's about close 10.5 miles. Say. It was to Heritage Point, I believe it was called, and it was a beautiful hike, dude. In Wyoming, You get to this park and all you smell like the pine trees, like the pine tree air freshener in your car, dude. It just smells like that, like wherever you are in this park, which I found to be absolutely amazing. I like fell in love with that. And on this hike I did, that's all you fucking smelled, these pine trees. Granted, it was there's a sign right there, there's actually a picture up there. There's a sign where it says, grizzly bear warning and shit like that. And a lot of people are fucking afraid of that, but again,
grizzly bears are pretty big and pretty
yeah,
scary.
Black bears you don't have to worry. Grizzly bears, yeah, you do want to worry. You run into a grizzly bear, you better be prepared.
Dude, fuck bears. I don't care what. I don't want to get attacked.
They could take you out with one swipe. I feel like if they get you right,
dude. I don't even want to think. I had my bear spray. I had a knife. Hopefully, I would have to use
bear repellent. Is like pepper spray of some sort.
Yeah, it's like heavy concentrated pepper spray.
Gotcha.
Boss, help us find the picture. Did you take a picture?
I'll go down. I'll go up, back up.
I see it right
back
here,
up. Yeah, right there. Yeah, that's the picture of the sign. And the next one is the Tetons.
So there's black bears, grizzly bears, and did you see any bears?
Yes, not at the Tetons. I didn't see any bears. I got word that there was one on the trail that I was hiking, and I'm hiking because I'm alone. They like it says on the sign too, you shouldn't hike alone, but that's fucking bullshit.
That's it. The caption he writes.
Underneath the "Don't hike alone" sign and the warning for the bears in red, bear attacks.
Yeah, Guas has a picture of this up on his Instagram, and this is your mom that you wrote to, right? It's like, don't worry, I'm fully prepared to fuck up any bears day before they end mine. And then right under that you added, in quotations, avoid hiking alone. Fuck you at, Dad. Because that's what your dad bounce on you?
No, he just didn't want to do the hike. That's a long hike. It was it's a 10-mile hike,
For some bears.
Yeah.
Long hike.
That hike was...
I like how your mom called you out, too. Don't be so cocky. Stay away from the bears.
But on this particular hike, I didn't run into any bears.
No.
Since hiking alone... I would, because people carry like these bear bells on and make noise. You're supposed to make noise, because the bears hear that they're not going to come at you. They're going to stay away.
Bears know not to fuck with Jesus anyway. So
yeah, exactly. Yes. But so as I'm hiking, I would make noises. I would just little whoop. Just make fucking crazy noises. And just to announce myself, because that's what you want to do, is announce yourself. And I didn't run into any on that trail. There were a couple times in Yellowstone, which is the next place I went to after this, was Yellowstone. So we get there, there's like one spot of camping left. And me, every time I got to a national park, I'll get crazy anxiety. Because all I want to do is set up camp. I wanted to find a camping spot, set it up, and be done with it. Yeah, you got to keep on going up.
Yeah. Right. Hold on. Before you get into that, this picture.
That's the Tetons.
Yeah.
Please tell me about this picture and where you went.
Well, dude, that is the
coolest fucking picture.
That was like a 2-minute, maybe like a 5-minute walk from my campsite. It's right there. So I would walk there and I would just sit by that lake and stare at those mountains for fucking hours. And you can see I got the crescent moon in the corner too. Like the moon was out, dude. It was the sun setting. Like it was fucking, dude. It was phenomenal. And I would just sit there.
Were there a lot of people at this place, like waiting for the sun to set? Is
this
like one of those, like, oh, I know?
In a sense, there were a lot of people. When you get into
knows.
the campsites, like, there's a massive amount of people in the campsites. Even the trail that I hiked where you saw that bear sign, there were people over there. There were people hiking over there. But once you start, like I said, doing the 10-mile hike, once you get a couple miles in, no one's around. Yeah. Some people are doing that hike, but not as many as people staring at these mountains. You probably had like 20, 30 people staring out where I was. On the hikes, it's a lot different. Most of the time, you're solo, which I like, as you know. But that place is dope, dude. Those mountains were incredible. I sat there, like I said, for hours and stared at those mountains, watched the sunset, everything, dude.
I can imagine. I
can stare at this fucking picture for
seriously,
hours.
That picture,
yeah, dude,
unbelievable. Unfucking believable, this picture.
Now,
it was unreal.
Everyone you met on the campsites, was it cool? Like, you could sort of show up there and you'd say, all right, like, what should I do when I get here? And they'd sort of fill you in? Or were people, like, sort of to themselves a little bit?
I mean, in a sense that what should I do aspect of it, no, I didn't ask that. People really didn't ask me or anything like that. But no, I would talk to people. You would just be sitting, like, I'd be sitting there staring at those mountains, and someone would, you just... In these parks, people make conversations with people, and that's how I said. I found out, like, I met so many couples that were like that been traveling for years in their camper, and this is what they do their life. They work like 6 months and they travel like 6 months. It's
That's
like,
so cool.
You know, and I'll run into a lot of people like that, and we would have conversations along those lines.
I feel like this, in a setting like this, when you're talking to people, it's not forced conversation.
Exactly.
Like, you ever have like forced conversation with people?
It's not forced at all.
It's organic. It's natural. It's you guys are experiencing something amazing.
You're in that
together.
atmosphere of that beauty. So it's like there's nothing, like you said, no forced conversation, nothing bad to talk about, no politics, no fucking work. It was just like, we're here, like, look at this, you know?
Yeah, just get out of your head for a second. Just experience.
Dude, it was
this amazing.
You know, that was a huge part of the trip, was meeting people and talking to people. That definitely played a big part in my experience.
How much in the conversations with the people you had, like, did you get to know the person, or was it more like, hey, look at the view and discuss the view kind of thing, or did you guys
most occasions it was, yeah, hey, look at the view, you know, this, we're here, blah blah blah, I'm from here, okay, see you later, you know. But there were some, like, I had with people, which I'll get into, like, after this was Yellowstone. Okay. So Yellowstone I went to. Yellowstone was real quick though. Like, me and my dad got there was like one camping spot left, so we like basically went to get that camping spot, and we actually got it. And I ended up doing a hike there, and after I did, which was right there, I was hiking the Yellowstone River, that middle picture, and after that, it was like, no, the one where we were just clicking on, yeah, that one. I hiked all the way up that mountain in front of it too. And so after I get done hiking that, I come back to my campsite and we get word of black bears roaming around the camp. And then I see him. He's on the trail. I'm like, holy shit. Like, he just, after I got off the trail, he just started walking, basically, like, almost like he was following me on the same trail I was walking.
Was it a bear?
Yeah, black bear.
Oh, shit.
And, but he just kept on walking the trail and just kept on going about his business, just walking. And I'm watching this dude, and to see, like, the bear in his element just
hanging out.
Yeah, it was, like, amazing.
So can you answer the age-old question that you always hear? Like, does a bear shit in the woods?
I'm sure he does.
Did you find any or step in any?
No, none of that. Found, definitely found animal shit. Of what? I don't know. It could have been bear. It could, you come across it.
You found some giant pile of shit in the woods.
Analyze it.
No, I didn't sit there. No Bear Grylls shit. Wasn't doing that.
No bear.
But so when we were at Yellowstone, me and my dad were talking to this couple, and they were from Colorado, Boulder, Colorado, which is a place I wanted to hit when I went to Colorado. And we got to talk with him. My dad's like, oh yeah, my son's taking me on this trip, blah blah blah. And they were cool people. I got their information because I said I was gonna be in Boulder. I never hit him up, but I got their information. And then after Yellowstone, we go to Glacier, which was fucking gorgeous. Glacier is absolutely gorgeous.
What state is Glacier in?
Glacier's Montana.
That's Montana, all right.
Yeah. That's Glacier. Those pictures.
Oh, look at those.
Yeah, those two pictures of Glacier, and that one above to the right is Glacier. But
wow. That's just that type of view alone. I don't know that really exists in New York or on the East Coast at all.
It doesn't.
Like, you're looking probably 100 miles in some directions.
It's ridiculous. And that one to the left, where you see, that's Grinnell Glacier. I actually hiked to the top, where you see all that ice, which was another 10-mile hike I did. And when I did that hike...
Sorry, a 10-mile hike, how long does that take roughly, like, through the wilderness? Is that a day trip? Or
no,
is it overnight?
It depends. On this one, I think it probably took me there and back maybe like, I don't know, 7 hours maybe?
Okay.
7 hours.
So like 3 hours, 3.5 hours each
yeah,
way
and it
type?
depends on your elevation. The steep, when it gets steep, because I went up to the top of the glacier.
Mm-hmm.
And
so that brings me to a question for you, and this is something I want to touch on. The exercise that you got on the trip. Like,
we'll get into that. I know I didn't prep. I mean, I was doing exercise for a while, but I wasn't doing no leg work or anything like that. I did my walking every day and stuff like that, but nothing to prep me for what I got into along the course of this trip.
So you were feeling it.
I fucked up my knee bad along the course of this trip, and I'll get into that.
Okay. Did you lose a ton of weight from this trip?
No, I don't think so.
No?
No.
Okay.
No, I don't feel I did.
You're pretty thin as it is,
though.
So
I was a lot thinner, actually. I don't know if you remember, like, when maybe a couple months, maybe a year before I went on a trip, I was crazy thin. For some reason, I just lost like crazy weight because I was doing my exercise and I was starting to eat better and stuff like that. So I lost, but I got too skinny. Like I was looking like a fucking Brooklyn George, like some crackhead or some shit. But yeah, it was bad. But Len would know about Brooklyn George, dude. That dude is old school crackhead from the block, bro. But yeah, I did not train.
Shout out to Brooklyn George.
Yeah.
If you're still kicking.
Yeah. Keep smoking them Newports and hitting that fucking nicotine patch.
I think that's going to be our new term for when we see a flaky vagrant. Look at that Brooklyn George over there.
Oh man,
that's going to be a new hashtag.
That dude was something else, bro. He was like 38. We were like 12. This dude's like outside hanging out with us and shit like that. But fucking.
Oh god.
So yeah, so that trip, I mean that hike, that hike was fucking was real sick. And I ended up meeting somebody on that hike. Walking with a dude, I bullshit him for a while. We hiked the whole thing, and he's like done the Appalachian Trail. He's done all this, that. So it was cool to like, get information.
Was that Appalachian George?
No, I think it was Appalachian Carl. But that was dope. And Glacier, me and my dad spent two nights there. It was just ridiculously beautiful. There's a road that goes throughout that whole park where you get to, it's called like the Road to the Sun or something like that. You see everything. It is absolutely gorgeous. And while I did that Grinnell Glacier hike, my dad ended up hiking another little hike that was around our campsite. Ran into a couple that knew us.
Huh?
Because they knew the couple that we ran into in Yellowstone, and somehow the couple from Yellowstone told this other couple about us, and they happened to be in Glacier when we were there and ran into my dad. And when my dad must have made small talk with him, like, oh, my son's taking me on my trip, they're like, oh, you're Richie and Anthony, the son that's taking his dad on his bucket list. And my dad would call it his bucket wish. That's what he called it. And because when I came back, he's like, yeah, we're famous, we're making a reputation. I'm like, the fuck are you talking about? He's like, oh, I ran into this couple that knew us, that knew the couple we just met in Yellowstone, and word got around that we're doing this trip, and I actually ran into another couple that knew us. I was like, wow, that's crazy.
That's fucking crazy.
Yeah.
It's so, little sidebar about that, like, similar type of thing. My brother lived in Arizona for a while. we go out there, or I go out to visit him, and we go to a Jets-Cardinals game. And we're in a stadium that holds 75,000 people or something like that. Thousands of miles away from where we grew up. We run into and start a conversation with people who grew up and lived in Eagle Estates and went to my stepdad's pizza place. They're like, Bill's Pizza? Fucking hell, we used to go there all the time. We're like, wait, hold on. We're like, what the fuck are you talking about? Like, that's our pizza place. We're like, we own that pizza place. Like,
yeah.
Arizona, New York. We're like, how the fuck
in the stadium that fucking big too, right?
In a stadium that big, where we just happened to, like, it wasn't like we were going around talking to people. We just happened to be, doing something, and we struck up a conversation with these people next to us. And they're like, oh, where are you from? You Jets fans? And like, my brother's a Jets fan. He was like, yeah, I lived in New York. Oh, where at? Out on Long Island in Medford. And they were like, Medford? We're like, we're from Eagle Estates. We're like, no way. And then fucking we talked about it and brought we were like, it was just crazy. Like, how does that even happen?
Dude, and now listen to this. To even one-up you on this, that same park, after we run into that couple, we're hanging out. My dad found driftwood that was outside the park, and he grabbed it, he put it in, and to use, so we can make a fire. So we make a fire, and a ranger pulls up, and he sees the wood, and he's like, you guys didn't get that out of the park, right? And we're like, because you're not supposed to collect wood in some parks. And we're like, no, we didn't get it out of the park, we got it from out of the park. He was like, all right. And he sees the license plate, and he goes, oh, you guys are from New York? And we're like, yeah. He's like, oh, I'm from upstate. My dad's like, oh, where? He's like, I have a house upstate, blah, blah, blah. He's like, Whitney Point. And the guy's like, yeah, oh, no, I know where Whitney Point is. And then my dad's like, yeah, we got the house. It's on a hill. It's got a monument outside. He's like, he's like, really? He's like, I know exactly where that house is. He's like, hey. We're like, what? He's like, yeah, no, I know where that house is. ILOs and all that in town. And we're like, holy shit. And he's like, I can't wait to get home and tell my parents about this, because that's where his parents live up there.
Yeah.
And he's like, they're gonna be so shocked because we're in fucking, Montana, and this guy knows my dad's house in Whitney Point, fucking upstate New York.
That's so
so
crazy.
that was like back to back. That was the same day that happened. So that was pretty wild. And okay, another thing was, after, I think it was before we got to Glacier, we go to a supermarket to get food and stuff like that, and there's this bum sitting outside the supermarket, and my dad goes right up to him and he gives him like a $1 or two, and I go, "Oh, Dad," I'm like, "That's good. I'm glad. Dad, I'm proud of you, Dad. I didn't think you would do something like that. That's awesome." And he's like, "Yeah," and I'm like, "That's karma, man. Things come back around." So we get in the truck, we start heading to Glacier. We see some guy pull over on the side of the road, and he's like kicking something off the road. And we're like, what the fuck? We pull over. It was a guy who brings firewood to the national parks. And there was a bundle of firewood outside of his truck. And he goes, "Oh, you guys can take that. We don't want it." And in the national park, firewood's like $15 a bundle. Like, it's expensive. So we're like, "Oh, shit, yeah, we'll take it." So we put it in the truck. We start driving down the road. Another bundle. Stop the truck, pick it up, drive down, another bundle. Like, this guy, we must have picked up, I think, like 4 bundles we picked up that this guy dropped in the road. And this is right after my dad gave the bum $1, and we just made a joke about it, like, yeah, karma. Not that you should do something, not that you should give a bum money to hope that you get something in return, but it was just, that's just the whole karma thing. But, so after what was it, Glacier, we did another 12-hour drive. We went all the way to Washington and hit Mount Rainier. And we got there. It sucks because I wanted to spend a little more time at Mount Rainier and I couldn't. That's it right there, that woods, all that. Those 2 pictures. It's a shame I don't have a picture of Mount Rainier. I do have a picture of it. I just still never uploaded it. And it was the only picture I got. Like, when we were driving to our campsite, there was like a scenic view spot where you stop and you just see Mount Rainier in the distance, and it was gorgeous. Took a picture of it, and that was the only time I saw it. Then we went to our campsite. We set up camp. They had beautiful fucking campsites too, gorgeous. And we set up camp, and then the next day it was raining. And we're like,
Washington.
Yeah, exactly. And we're like, what do you want to do? And I'm like, Dad, we're here. I still want to do a hike. I got rain gear. I'm down to do a hike. And my dad's like, no. He's like, I'm game. So that's the hike we did right there. We hiked to this waterfall, and it was like probably like a, maybe only like a 2 or 3 mile hike. And we did that, and it was gorgeous because you're in a fucking rainforest. Like, it's absolutely beautiful. And so we did that. We met a couple there. We bullshitted with them. My dad had coffee with them, all that good stuff. And then we bounced out of there, and we drove down to Oregon, and we hit Crater Lake. And Crater Lake was fucking phenomenal. I actually just posted a picture of it just recently. I think there's a picture on there too, right there. But Crater Lake was gorgeous. And again, we only stayed there a day though. There was a lot of, they were doing like it's Crater Lake.
That's it right there?
Yeah, that's it.
Jesus.
Dude, it was gorgeous. They were doing like a bike marathon there. A lot of people there. But we got camp. We spent the night there. I did a hike. You can hike around that whole lake, but it's I don't know how many miles it is. It's a fucking long hike. I only hiked, I think I did like...
It's got to be like 30 miles.
Yeah, it's something
miles,
ridiculous.
Not more. I can't even see the whole lake.
I did like
photo.
6 miles of it, and I got to about where I was looking at the front of that volcano.
That's a great vantage point, though, just to be able to snap shots from there. I mean,
oh, yeah. Oh, it was amazing. So, yeah, we spent the night there. And after Crater Lake was my dad's last stop, was the Redwoods. We went to the Redwoods. Redwoods, again, the Redwood, fucking beautiful. Giant trees, fucking amazing. We got camped there. And that was my dad's last national park, last hurrah. And then I drove him down to San Francisco. We parted ways, which was tough to do, after everything we just been through in 2 weeks. And it was crazy because I planned it like that I was going to get from the start. When I planned this, I'm like, it's probably going to take us 2 weeks to get to San Francisco and for my dad to fly out. And that's how we planned it. And we got there like 2 weeks on the nose. But if I could do it again, I would have spent a lot more time in that northern route. I would have spent 3 weeks in the northern route with my dad as opposed to 2 weeks. I kind of rushed this whole trip. Even though I was on the road for 6 weeks, I rushed it. It was a rush. I'd spend 1 or 2 nights in spots when I should have kind of spent a little longer in certain spots.
It's a long way.
It is. And after a while, I started getting a little homesick. It was like when I was coming towards the tail end, I was like, oh man, it is gonna be nice in a sense to get home. But man, I came home to some shit. But that's a whole nother story. But
that's another episode.
Yeah, exactly. So after I parted ways with my dad, then it was like, okay, now the backcountry starts. Now the crazy shit I wanted to get into. Now it all starts.
Now you start doing drugs.
Yes, and I didn't do. Unfortunately, I didn't do any drugs on the trip. I was on a natural high this whole trip, which was fucking amazing. So that's Yosemite right there. That's Half Dome, right? That right picture. So I get to Yosemite, and when I was actually in, where was I? I think when I was in when I was in Glacier, there was a kid there that was talking to him about, he was from Michigan, and he goes to a lot of national parks. He's like, yeah, I used to fly to Yosemite and hike Half Dome all the time. He's like, if you go to Yosemite, you got to do Half Dome. And I said, all right, I'll look into it. And I get to Yosemite, and I go, I'm trying to get camping. The guy's like, there's no camping. And I'm like, oh, shit. I'm like, well, what do you have backcountry? And he's like, you can do... Actually, no, I'm like, I'm looking to do Half Dome. I'm like, can I do that? And he's like, you need a permit to do Half Dome. And I'm like, where's the permit office? He's like, it's like a couple miles down the road. But a couple miles in a national park is like fucking 40 minutes. And it's already 10 o'clock in the morning. I'm thinking I'm going to do Half Dome and do it in one day, not knowing what I'm getting myself into.
Wait, it's 40 minutes because you got to walk to the
No,
place?
you drive. But I'm just saying, it's just, in national parks, the roads are so windy, dude, to get a couple miles, not 40 minutes, but to get a couple miles, you think 2 miles or a couple minutes, it's probably like 15, 20 minutes for a couple miles in a national park.
10 miles an hour.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm like, look, I really don't, it's 10 o'clock, and he's like, look, I'll tell you what. He's like, just go do it. I'm like, are you serious? I don't need a permit? He's like, just go do it. He's like, but do me a favor. He's like, camp out at this place. It's called Little Yosemite Valley. It's like somewhere on the trail. And I go, yeah, shit, yeah. I don't have camping tonight. I need camping. Yeah, I'll camp out. I got no problem doing that. So go to my car. I'm fucking stoked as shit. This is my first time that I'm really going to do something like real backcountry camping. Load up my bag with everything. Throw my bag on. Shit's like fucking like 50 pounds. I'm like, all right, no doubt. Start the hike. And it was 9 miles all uphill. And I mean, for the first mile, I was like hurting. Like, I was like, wow, this is going to be a lot tougher than I thought. And I get to this junction where I could either take the Mist Trail or the John Muir Trail. The John Muir Trail is 1.5 miles longer than the Mist Trail. I decided to take the John Muir Trail because I figure I'll take the Mist Trail back. Because if there's 2 trails, I always have to take one there and one back. I need to see both of them. Like, I can't just do one. If there's 2 in my, there, I need to do them both. So I took the John Muir Trail up, which was better because it was steep, but it wasn't as steep as the Mist Trail that I realized coming back down. So I get that. I'm probably like, I don't know, maybe like 6 miles in. I'm fucking dying. Like, I'm like, I need to, when I get to my campsite, I'm like, I need to set up camp so I lose weight and, lose like my tent, lose a lot of shit. So finally I get to my campsite. I set my tent up and I'm debating. I could sleep right now and then go to Half Dome in the morning and then hike all the way back to my car. But I was just so like gassed up. I was just like, no, I'm doing it fucking now. I want to do it. I want to get to the top of Half Dome and I want to get back to my tent tonight. So, unpack my tent, I'm hiking, and I'm asking people, how much further to Half Dome? And I hear some dude, he's like, oh yeah, you got about, 40 minutes to the cables. And I'm like, oh, the cables. I'm like, I totally forgot about the cables. So when you get to Half Dome, to get up Half Dome, you got to climb these cables.
I was going to say, isn't this one of the, what was the documentary we watched?
The Uprising. Yeah,
right.
This is one of the
big, huge spots that they, that was like unclimbable for the longest time, right?
Yeah, there's a lot of like rock climbing in Yosemite Valley. Apparently, is like what, like
dude, it's huge.
It's where it started, apparently. And Half Dome was one of the big paths.
But what I did, the part I climbed up wasn't the climbing that rock climbers would do. It's just cable. It's got 2x4s and cables, and you kind of pull yourself up. You step on a 2x4, pull yourself up. But as you can see, it's fucking steep as shit.
Yeah.
So just to get, so I'm like, all right, 40 minutes of the cables, whatever. I'm dying.
This is at night?
No, this is still during the day. This is still late in the evening. Which was good because I was one of the last people up there. Usually there's a line to get up there. Thankfully there wasn't. I even like ditched because I was like, man, this is getting rough. I actually ditched some of my my bag that I had in the woods. And then kept on hiking and left there, knowing when I come back to it, I'll get it. I hit it somewhere because I need to lose more weight because I was just like, wow, this is getting rough.
Right.
And to get up to just the base of Half Dome, you have to hike these like switchbacks, which switchbacks are like the trail goes like left to right, because it's so steep it can't just go straight up. It's got to go left, then you go right, then you go left, right. So you make it up, but it's still steep as hell. And these are steps too. They're like giant rock steps. And dude, I get to the base of Half Dome. My legs are like the worst Charlie horses you could possibly have.
How many miles had you hiked at this point?
It was probably 8, I would think, 8 or 9 at this point.
I mean, all uphill.
All uphill, dude. There was not one flat point of this fucking hike, dude. It was all uphill. So finally, I'm like, all right, I'm here. I throw on there's gloves down there, 'cause you want to put on gloves to pull your hands up the cables, pull yourself up the cables. So finally, I get to the top. Dude, I get to the top, I couldn't even stand up. My legs were in so much. My legs were so cramped up. You know how when they get cramped and if you move them in the wrong way, you get those they hurt like hell? Dude, that's what it was. And I had to sit down. And since I'm on this giant dome, I can't get comfortable even sitting. And I can't move my legs. I'm like, yo, how the fuck am I going to get down? I'm like in shitty position right now. But eventually I sat there for a little bit. The Charlie horse eventually, went away. And I got up, I started walking around, checking out the view. It's a shame, though, that it was so overcast that day. It was a very ominous fucking type day. And so I took pictures, but I couldn't really get that great of pictures. But anyway, so then I'm like, all right, now it's time to go back to my tent. Hike back down to my tent. I get the shit I stashed in the woods. Get all that. I get to my tent, cook myself something to eat, and then I go to sleep. Next morning, I wake up, and it was maybe a 6-mile hike back down to my car. And on the way back down, I ended up taking the mist trail, the trail that I didn't take up. Luckily, I didn't take the mist trail up, even though it was shorter. It was so steep, and it's just these solid steps that either I would have to go up, and now I'm going down. But in that case, the steps going down, those steps like that, is actually worse because you're constantly putting pressure on your legs. You constantly impact. Yeah. Yes, exactly. And that's why I think that's where my knee got started. That's how when I fucked my knee up. I think that's how it got started. So after that was Yosemite. After Yosemite I went down to Sequoia. And the next day I woke up, dude, my legs were, it's like almost like my legs were so sore. I worked out my legs constantly, so they were just crazy sore. But I ended up doing another, I think 7-mile hike in the Sequoias. But Sequoias was pretty level ground. You just walk through
Sequoias is just another part of Yosemite?
No. Sequoias is totally different from, it's the same, if you look at a map, it's the same region in a sense. It's the same, how you got the national parks are green. It's all that one thing. That one thing is all Yosemite, then it goes to Kings Canyon, and then it goes to Sequoia. So it's essentially it's essentially one giant park, but it's 3 separate parks. There's nothing that resembles Sequoia in Yosemite and vice versa. It's just...
Is this Sequoia?
That's Sequoia right there. So in Sequoia, I did another 7-mile hike. I met some dude. He actually had his dog with him, which you're not supposed to have dogs in national parks, but he had a service dog. So you're allowed to.
Why aren't you allowed to have dogs?
Because I assume one is for the shit, the feces. You don't want to bring shit in woods like that.
Right. Unnatural to
yes, exactly.
Like that,
yeah. And plus, you got animals all around. You're risking bringing a dog in.
Right.
They might attract bears.
Yes, exactly.
Right. They're going to see that as
They
food.
could be
but they do let service dogs in.
Turn them
that dog might get jacked.
Yeah. See, and I was and I'm hiking with this kid. And he's got his dog, and I'm in my head. I'm like, I would never have my dog in here. I would be too. I was even nervous to him because if a bear came out, I don't want bears coming out and shit. But when you have your dog with you, what is your dog going to do? Yeah. For instance, if I had Josie with me and a bear came out, Josie would went right at that fucking bear, either wanting to play with it or wanting to attack it, and Josie would have been done, that's what I feared with his dog. But we didn't run into anything. We had a sick hike. We bullshit a lot. He was actually from Florida, and he took the southern route, and he was driving all the way up to Washington, and then I don't know if he was flying back from Washington or driving back down. But
did he call his relatives and tell them that he met Jesus?
He might have.
I found Jesus on a hike.
You are never going to believe where I found Jesus.
I was in the mountains. It was real beautiful. It was picturesque in the mountains.
All of a sudden, there he is.
So yeah. After that, let's see. Oh, he actually came from the Grand Canyon. he was doing the Grand Canyon. He's like, yo, if you do the Grand Canyon, do the hike down to the Colorado River and camp out there. That wasn't my intention, but again, you meet people and they tell you different things.
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, I'll do that. That's how I did fucking Half Dome. So after Sequoia, I met a group of people in Sequoia from Colorado, and that's where I was going, was Colorado. And they had moved from California to Colorado, and they love it. And I was thinking, part of this trip was for me to find somewhere else to live in a sense. And Colorado was huge on my mind. Like, oh man, I think I might, want to live there. So to run into these people and realize and see that they were from Colorado and they moved there, and they're like, dude, like it's a great move. You just got to do it. You just got to do it. It was very interesting to meet those people. I'm like, wow, okay, I'm looking at Colorado. These people came from Colorado, and they're like, yo, it's great. Like, I felt like I was in the right place at the right time with the people I met. Like, leaving Sequoia, I just had this, like, really, like, strong, like, warm-hearted feeling, like, damn, I'm doing the right thing. I've been doing the right thing, and this is like where the universe wants me to be right now. And it was a very, very great feeling leaving there. So after I left Sequoia, I went to LA. I know a buddy, Dave knows him very well, Dave Sorensen. Yeah. Oh, okay. So yeah. So I stayed with him in LA. I stayed with him prior. I visited him, I think, a year ago, and he let me stay with him. And
was that like culture shock to you for fucking being in the woods and then being in LA? Yes
and no. I mean, it was great because to see him and to be back in LA was still like I'm on a trip, I'm on a vacation. Yeah. It was still good. So I got to stay with him, but I only stayed with him for a night because I also was meeting this girl Laura, who I met recently a couple of years ago when I went to visit Dave. I met her there, and I wanted to go visit her as well and spend time with her. So I went and hung out with her. She took me to this place called Idlewild, which is a sick place in California. We stayed there a night, had a great time. It was a really, really good time we had. And then we drove back to L.A., and she went her way, I went my way. It's a shame Dave wasn't home. He was actually working at the time. I went to say goodbye to him because I didn't get a chance. He didn't know I was going to sleep out, neither did I. And so I ended up leaving L.A. without, I couldn't say goodbye to Dave and all that stuff. But I left. So I left to go down to Joshua Tree.
So I know Dave was probably working on Daredevil at the time.
Yeah, I would think.
It's pretty fucking awesome.
Are we allowed to say that yet? Is that
yeah, no, it's on. It's on. I think his sworn to secrecy is up at this point. Okay. But if you haven't seen it, check it out. Fucking Daredevil on Netflix. It's awesome. It's so good.
So let me think. So it was Joshua Tree I went to after that. And Joshua Tree was dope. That's a real trippy place.
I was just gonna say, from my experiences that I've heard from my friends telling me about Joshua Tree, it seems like a trippy place.
Yeah, it was cool. Me and Dave actually we went there like a month or two ago. Yeah, it was about 2 months ago. I went back to California and went with Dave, and Dave actually came with me to Joshua Tree, and we had. I mean, I'll probably get into that another time, but we had a really, really a sick time. So me solo in Joshua Tree, I had a great time. It was amazing. Camped out, did some more hiking.
That's a national park as well?
Yeah, that's a national park as well. And at this time, my knee really wasn't bothering me. It was like, all right, it's not that bad anymore. My leg's not bothering me. I did a couple miles, maybe I did like 4 miles in Joshua Tree, I hiked, and I was all right. Then after Joshua Tree was the Grand Canyon. That's when I fucked up my knee. So I get there, they have no camping. And I go, okay, so what camping can I do? And I'm looking to do backcountry. I'm looking to hike down the bottom of the Grand Canyon and camp at the Colorado River. And I'm like, you have any more permits? And she's like, no, we don't have any more permits. And what they do at national parks is they very reluctant to give out permits because they don't want to give them out to anybody. So I'm like, dude, I did Half Dome at Yosemite. I came from Sequoia. I'm like doing a whole cross country trip. Oh, okay, we have permits for you.
They don't want some schmuck going down there.
Exactly. You kind of, you got to justify. Yeah, you got to justify yourself in a sense. So I got a permit to do that, but they didn't have camping at this place called Phantom Ranch, which is right by the Colorado River. I had to do another backcountry spot, which was 2 miles past that. Back up a fucking canyon I had to hike. But it was well worth it in a sense. So I wake up early, I sleep in my car I had to sleep in my car that night. I sleep in my car, I wake up, I get on the shuttle bus, I go to the trailhead where I'm supposed to go, and I start hiking down. And the hike down, I think, is what did it to me, because like the constant impact. You're going down and it's steep.
Downhill is really rough.
It was really rough. So I get down there quick. I mean, I got to the Phantom Ranch and then hiked the other 2 miles up to my campsite in, I think, like 4 or 5 hours. And it was more miles than it was half them, but obviously I was going uphill with half them. Here I'm going down.
But 4 or 5 hours of continual moving with weight on your back.
Yeah, oh yeah.
I mean, that would wear the hell out of me. I've never really went hiking before. The longest hike I ever did, I walked up. I was in China and I walked up the Great Wall of China, which was like 3 miles, all uphill, all steps. Mm-hmm. But after that, like you said, my legs were in such pain.
Oh yeah.
When I got to the bottom, I went and I got like a leg massage.
Dude, I would have gave anything for a fucking leg massage. Man.
And I'm not gonna lie, it was only like people were telling me that I got ripped off. It was like $15 US. You could have got it for a lot. I'm like, I would have spent $200 US for that.
Seriously,
it was worth every goddamn penny.
No rub and tug after?
No. It was in a public setting.
Those are all closed down around here now.
So I get to my campsite, and dude, my campsite was actually I'm on a cliff in the Grand Canyon, like above the Colorado River, like just sitting on this fucking cliff. Like it was ridiculous. And I'm up there for hours, and I got it there early, so I'm there for hours with nothing to do. But you know, I had a book. The girl Laura actually gave me a book to bring on my trip, and it was so clutch. I didn't bring any reading material. I normally don't read that much, but on this trip, after I got that book, dude, I was reading constantly because I would get to my campsites and I'd have nothing to do but read. I already hiked fucking down the Grand Canyon. I'm not going to do more hiking. So after that, when I'm thinking to myself,
what was the book?
Blue Highways. It's actually about a dude who goes cross country and but takes all like the back roads, hence the name Blue Highways. So I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, all right, I definitely don't want to get caught in the sun tomorrow hiking up the fucking Grand Canyon. Like, I need to do this right. So I woke up at like 3:30 in the morning, and I got my headlamp on, broke down my tent, packed everything up, and I started doing my hike at 3:30 in the morning. And it was amazing because it was the first time I ever hiked that night, and I'm in the Grand Canyon, fucking pitch black, hiking this thing, looking up. The stars were ridiculous, absolutely ridiculous. I finally get down to the Colorado River, dude. I'm hiking alongside the Colorado River. Granted, I can't see it, but you could just hear the water rushing by your side. And I'm looking up, dude. You see the moon, the crescent moon was out. Fucking, Venus, Jupiter was right there with the crescent moon, and then you could see like the rim of the Grand Canyon underneath the moon. Like, it was absolutely ridiculous. So I'm hiking back up. Eventually, sun comes out. I actually did, throughout the whole hike, I actually stayed out of the sun. As crazy as it sounds, just the way I was weaving, just the way the trail was weaving, it was out of the sun, which was perfect for me. But the problem was my knee. Every time I would stop to like sit down and take like 5-10 minutes to drink, maybe eat a snack or whatever, I couldn't move my leg. I would get back up and I could not move. I couldn't walk.
You'd have to warm it up again?
Exactly,
almost?
Yes. I would have to sit there. Yeah, I would have to sit there and I'd have to move my leg until it starts moving again, and then finally I could walk again. And if I would come to a stop, that would happen again. And it was brutal getting up. Like, I was just dying to get to the top. And eventually, I made it to the top and I was like, all right, I'm good. But in my head, I'm like, wow, I did some damage to my knee, but do I want to call a trip? Am I going to drive back home? And I'm like, no fucking way. I'm going to, continue on. So, excuse me. So after the Grand Canyon, I was supposed to go to this place called Vermilion Cliffs because I saw a picture of it. It looked sick as hell. And I'm like, oh, Google map it and take me there. So I go there, and all of a sudden there's a sign, like, basically it's telling me like it's only like 100 miles away, but it's like 3 hours. I'm like, how the fuck is it 3 hours? Because I come to find out that
up and down.
Not even up and down. You go through desert. You basically go off-roading, and like it tells you, like, make sure you bring lots of water and shit like that. So I'm following a GPS, and I didn't realize I was gonna start going off-road. I have like a quarter tank of gas, but I'm like, I want to find this place. It only says it's so and so miles away. I have enough to find it. So I'm going through, dude, off-roading, fucking trees coming in my window, fucking I scraped the shit, broke the antenna off my FJ, fucking I was just getting. I had to open up these cattle gates and then reclose them, so I had to always get out of my car. And I'm getting pissed because I'm running out of gas and I can't find this place. All of a sudden, the GPS tells me I'm here, and I'm like in the middle of nowhere, like. Okay, but I guess these cliffs are something where you have to exactly know where they are. You know, like, okay,
you're
here.
To the general area.
Exactly. And I'm thinking, okay, how do I get out of here? I can go the road I came, or I can keep on going straight because the highway is straight, but do I know there's going to be a road that comes out to the highway? It might just be a dead end fucking in the mountains, and I'm dead end, and I'm really fucked. So I decided to go back the way I came, and I'm all freaking out because I'm like, fuck, I'm running out of gas and shit like that. But I eventually made it out of there fine, hit a gas station, ended up getting camp like right out of there, making camp that night, and everything was cool. And then the next day I was going to Zion, and that was like, I forgot how long of a drive that was. That might have been a good 8-hour drive. And I read, like, you know, I went to a supermarket, I got cream for my knee, I got a knee brace and all that, and I'm trying to read, like, what I should do with my knee. And it's like, you know, you should elevate your knee as much as you can. Elevate your leg.
Stop hiking 8 miles.
Yeah, stop hiking. Yes, well, that's the main thing.
Don't sleep outside in the cold, damp.
I wasn't about to stop hiking. No, I wasn't about to go home and just kill the trip. I had to continue. So I got the knee brace, I got the cream and all that. I actually drove in cruise control with my right leg on my dashboard and braking with my left leg.
It takes a little practice, right?
Dude, it was tough at first, but, you know, just going cruise control, and I'm on highways and shit like that. So for the most part, it was fairly easy. And that's right, for the rest of the trip, that's how I drove. I drove in cruise control with my right leg on the fucking dashboard and, you know, braking with my left. So finally I get to Zion, and again, no camping. So, damn, got a little dude flying around in here.
This every fucking podcast.
Almost got that, dude.
There's never a fucking bug in here except when we're recording. And Eric, Mr. Miyagi's it again.
Eric gets the bug every fucking time. The bug whisperer.
So, yeah, so I get to Zion, and again, they have no camping. So I'm like, fuck, what do you have that's back country? They're like, you know, we have a spot in the Narrows. And the Narrows are... It's basically, it's the Virgin River and canyons on each side of you, and you hike through water. You're hiking through water. So, so I get there, and I say, all right, you know, I'll take that back countryside. I have to sleep in my car again. And then the next day, I hike the Narrows. And at this point, again, my knee is fucking killing me. What the fuck?
That bug actually smelled bad. I don't know. It smells terrible. My hand smells terrible now. Like a skunk almost.
Oh man.
So I do the Narrows, and then, dude, the Narrows were amazing, bro. You're hiking through water. Again, I wish you guys were there for this, like my friends were there for this, because, you know, just the scenarios that would have went on between us would have been fucking hilarious. But it's the only thing that sucked about it was I couldn't fully enjoy it because my knee was fucking killing me. But again, I was stubborn, and I'm like, dude, I'm doing this. These 17 miles of the Narrows, I'm fucking doing it. And I did it in 2 days. You know, I hiked like half of it. I got to a campsite. I camped out. And then the next day I woke up and I hiked the rest. And it was fucking gorgeous. Zion's such a gorgeous national park. And then after Zion was pretty much, after Zion was like my last big hike. After that was Mesa Verde with like the cave dwellings from like the Pueblo Indians.
Mm-hmm. How is that? I've seen pictures of it.
Dude, amazing. Absolutely amazing. Like I did a short hike there where you hike to this one spot. It's the only spot in the national park that has petroglyphs carved in the rocks. And I hiked to that spot and I got to see the petroglyphs and all that. That was really sick. And then it's one of those parks where you could drive around and you could see different parts of the park where the Indians had set up and they made their whole cave dwellings and all these other interesting things from different years too. So you could see how it progressed. Like the first ones they made were real shitty looking. The next ones were a lot more nicer, you know, better built and all that. So it was interesting to see all that. And it was still uncovering shit. You know, not all of it's been uncovered. So what's up? No. What do you want?
I wanted you to touch on something.
Okay.
And you're probably getting close to this part of the trip, I'm assuming. You made it to Colorado, right? And didn't you go out in Colorado at one point? You went out downtown in Colorado.
Yeah,
You went out. Is that the only town?
That's the only. Well, no, that's not the only town. Because what I would do, even when I was whenever I would get hotels, most of the hotels I got were with my dad. Hotels and motels, get some with me. But whenever I get a hotel and motel, whatever town I was in, you bet your ass I was walking that town and seeing what it was about, just being in different areas and stuff like that. Like this town in Montana called, I think it was Missoula, I believe it's called, was gorgeous. It was like a college town, great food, great people there. Me and my dad walked around there, ate there. It was absolutely, it was a great town. But that's what I did. Every time I got a hotel or motel, I would explore the towns like I did in Colorado. Colorado I had 2 days though, so I spent all my 2 days in Boulder.
Did you set out to do that specifically?
Yes, because originally this whole part of this trip was I figured in my head Boulder is a place where I could see myself living,
right.
And that's a place I wanna really check out. But after the trip, Boulder's again, Colorado was my last real destination. So it was like that was the tail end of my trip, and I was kind of a little homesick, and it was kind of like I was in that process of going home. So it was like I couldn't really appreciate it as much as I could because it was a little depressing in a sense that I was on. It was like the trips. I'm in Colorado now. This is kind of like my last stop. Like, but again, Mesa Verde was in Colorado. Then I went to Boulder, spent the 2 days in Boulder. That's where I got the tattoo in Boulder. And then I went up to Rocky Mountain National Park and then drove home. And that was pretty much...
Okay. So tell us about the tattoo. So you got...
It's a Constellation Lyra.
Okay. Not bullet holes.
Not bullet holes. I have to touch that up. It's Constellation Lyra. So how I came about that was maybe like a year or two ago. I want to, which I normally tend to do a lot. I'm like, in my head, if there's a meteor shower, or if it's just a clear night, I want to get high, I want to listen to music, and I want to lay in my backyard and stare at the stars. It's like a common thing for me that I do. So got stoned out, laying in my backyard, listening to music, and I'm staring up at this one star catches my eye, and I'm staring up at it, and you know how like when you really focus on something, it kind of warps itself. Like you start to see, your mind's doing that. Mm-hmm. You know your mind's warping it. I'm not like, oh my god, I'm tripping out, I'm fucking high, like shit like that. You just know my eyes are playing a trick on me, and I'm staring at the star, and it's looking like I'm going through kind of like a wormhole in a sense. And I'm just really focusing on it. I'm like, hey, this is fucking awesome. Just digging the music, just everything. I'm just like, this is fucking great. And all of a sudden, mind you, this is like a year and a half before this cross country trip. And all of a sudden, that wormhole starts to take shape, and like it almost looks like treetops, and then stars in between those treetops. Like if someone took a picture laying down up at trees at a night sky, how you just see the tips of the trees and you see the stars. Mm-hmm. Like it almost looked like that. And I'm like, wow. And I'm picturing myself, man, that's like a sign. Go to a national park or some shit like that.
Dude, experience this.
And then I'm like, oh man, I'm like, just let me see a camper. Because at this time, my goal, in my mind, I was actually thinking about selling my house, getting a camper, and just living in the camper and traveling. And I'm like, just let me see a camper, and and that's what I'll do. And I end up starting to see this thing. It's like this black shadow, and it kept on moving, it kept on moving back and forth. And what I pictured was there's this video called 180 Degrees South, which actually inspired... Yes, a great documentary. Everybody should check that out. Which inspired me to do all this. And on the cover of 180 Degrees South is a picture of the Earth and a van going around the Earth, like in a half of it. And in my head, that's what I'm looking at, and that's what I'm seeing. I'm seeing that van go on top of the Earth, and I'm like, holy shit, that's fucking amazing. That's a sign that I have to travel. I have to go do something. So anyway... So after that, I'm like, what the hell? I'm like, I gotta look up that star. I gotta see what star it is. So I look up that star, and it turns out to be the star Vega in the constellation of Lyra. And I look up what Lyra is. Lyra is a harp, which represents music. And that blew me away too.
Oh, a harp, not a heart.
Yeah, no, okay. A harp. And that blew me. I'm like, wow, I'm listening to music, I'm zoning out, I'm staring at this constellation, and it's a harp. Like, everything's just like intertwining, and I'm just like, wow, this is fucking amazing. So, the whole time on this cross-country trip, every time I made camp, every time I was outside underneath the night sky, I would look up. Not knowing where I was looking, the first star I would see would be Vega. because it's one of the brightest stars in the sky. But I would just look up and there's Vega. Every fucking night I saw the star, and it was just a crazy.
Except for the first stop, right, in the Badlands.
Oh, in the Badlands, too many stars. But I'm sure I saw it. My mind wasn't on it then. But every stop I saw this, and it just made me realize, like, wow, like, this is like the universe, like, just like speaking to me in a sense. Like, this happened 2 years ago where I saw the star and had this epiphany of this cross-country trip and camping out and all this stuff. And now I'm here doing it, and every night I'm seeing the star, this constellation. Like, this is something special. And that's why I got the tattoo, because to me that, that it represents something big. But yeah, that's the whole story on the whole tattoo thing. And, it means a hell of a lot, because I don't get a lot of tattoos. When I do, I want them to mean something,
Right.
And that means a hell of a lot to me, because that was actually a pretty, amazing experience to see that every night and realize where I came from, how I got here, and, I'm here doing it, and it's kind of like, hey, yeah, you are here doing it. Look at this,
Not everyone gets tattoos just because.
Yeah.
What are you insinuating? I don't know. Why don't you tell the people what you're talking about?
I have a question about bathing on the trip. Were there any places in the natural surroundings where you could like bathe in like hot springs or pools of water or anything like that?
Yes, if you knew where they were, but
he walks on water, so he can bathe in it. He can do whatever he wants. Turn it into wine.
Jesus, gonna go on all night. I love it.
Or is that only in Patchogue? Like if you leave Patchogue, do you lose your powers?
Dude, no, fuck no, dude.
As long as he has the hair. As long as he has the hair.
Exactly, dude.
The hair and the beard. Come on.
But there are places where you can bathe. There are hot springs you can go in and stuff like that. But you have to know.
Yeah.
That's something you would have to research and know exactly where they are. Like I didn't come across any of those. I mean, at the Tetons where you saw that lake in front of the mountains, people went in there. You're not supposed to. People jumped in there for a swim and all that.
Sure.
But you would have to like research those and find those. But there are plenty to do.
That's like one of the things I'm really into. When I'm in nature, if there's a body of water that looks sort of clean and is sort of warm, I'm definitely going in it.
Not jumping in the East River.
No East River, no Hudson. I'm not a fan of going in any water anywhere near New York City. No, those
you don't
canals
none of that.
over
None
there.
of that. Go upstate New York. You can definitely do that.
Allegedly, though, because of them like cleaning it and dredging and shit, like you could actually swim.
Allegedly.
Yeah.
They say don't open your mouth
Yeah.
and your eyes into water.
I have a friend that had to spend some time in the hospital after scuba diving in the East River.
Oh.
He was actually doing it for like training. He was going to SUNY Maritime, and they had to do some training. And I remember us all like sort of like joking. Shout out to Mike Atori, saying, "You really go in that water? Fuck, Mike, that's pretty gross." And he went to school for 4 years, obviously, and sure enough,
Spent 8 years in the hospital.
yeah, I think it was 3 years in. He's telling us this story. Oh, Eric, I had to go to the hospital. And me and all the guys, we broke out in some weird rash, and they couldn't tell us what it was after doing a scuba diving class or something along those lines.
It's something new.
Yeah, but as far as bathing go, I'm super into hot springs.
You could do all that, yeah. But they do have showers and stuff at most, yeah.
See, I wouldn't. I like the showers are cool, but if I can go in like a natural body
I would
of
prefer
water,
that too,
I would
yes.
prefer that, and especially like if you let yourself air dry. I feel like it's probably just a psychological thing. But your skin, I swear, my skin feels better. My hair, everything feels better. And I've done some shady. I guess it was shady. I once paid a Rastafarian to show me. I was with Denise, and we were on one of the islands down there, and we were exploring one of their like volcanic natural parks. So I had a guide with me. His name was Quincy. Shout out to Quincy. And I was like, Quincy, I know there's hot springs down here. I saw them on the internets. How could I get into one of these hot springs? And we were smoking J's because that's what you do when you're on the islands. And we were hanging out down there.
It's mandatory. I don't think you even have a choice.
100%. And my wife is pregnant at the time, so she's like, I'm not going in the hot springs. So
I'll smoke the joint though.
no. So Quincy's like, oh, you got to come down this trail over here, but your wife shouldn't come because it's a little bit rocky and it wasn't a nice trail. But you and I can go if we want to jump in the water. There's this waterfall. So we're in this real nice like hot spring with all rocks on the bottom. There's a waterfall. I'm like laying underneath the waterfall, letting the water go in my mouth. Quincy's yelling at me, telling me there's like too much iron content and I shouldn't do that. and my
parasites and small fish.
And my wife is like taking pictures of us from this small bridge that's about 75 feet away on the main trail. And next thing you know, a tour guide comes by with like 30 tourists. And they're these like real black, like Jamaican women. And all of a sudden they start yelling at us. Like, you're not supposed to be over there. Who's that white guy with that Rastafarian? Which Rastafarian is that? And then she's like saying to me, you know them? Do you know them? My wife's like, I don't know those guys. I got no idea who they are.
Threw you
like,
right under the fucking bus.
They're like, this is a national park. You shouldn't be over there. So they're having a fit. My tour guide, I say that with like air quotes, Quincy, is like, no, Quincy's like, shut up, and he yelled something at her in whatever Rastafarian language they were, and that was sort of like the end of it. But I was all worried about getting in trouble, but I was like, it was one of the best experiences of the trip.
Dude, that's what makes a trip, man, experiences like that.
Yeah, smoking a J in some hot spring. Drinking some iron water coming out of the volcano. I mean, life doesn't get any better. I got to put a picture of that on my Instagram. I gotta look for that.
I meant to ask you got the tattoo in Boulder, right, at the end of the trip?
Yeah. The guy who gave me the tattoo was actually from Long Island. What the fuck? I forgot exactly where he lived, but yeah, he's originally from Long Island. Did he go to
Bill's Pizza by any chance?
Could have.
What was his name?
I forgot the dude's name.
Dick.
I'm sure I have his card, yeah, but I forgot his name, dude.
All right. Well, I wonder if we know him because I am the accidental tattoo.
Not accidental.
Yours was fucking ripping on.
It's not accidental. It's just if someone's willing to pay for it and you still have real estate available.
I mean, I draw the line on some places, but
short of what? Having your dick tattooed, like
yeah. I'm not gonna tattoo my dick, and I won't tattoo just anything on me.
Pretty badass.
Listen, I know I have some sketchy fucking tattoos, but like I said, I draw the line at some. I'm not gonna like.
You haven't found that line yet, but you'll draw the line.
No, I have. I found that line.
Yeah,
I found it.
You turned one down.
I can't think of one off the top.
Right, exactly. So you haven't found that line yet. You will.
No, I have. I know it's been talked about. It's been talked about. I was like, no, I'm not doing that. Like, it's been talked about. There's been like.
You have a Christmas tree on your fucking leg.
Yeah, I'm not going to draw the line on the Christmas tree. Well, listen, there's more behind the Christmas tree than just that, but there's been like the long running joke over at the bar with like everybody like about me getting a Mount Rushmore of everybody's faces.
Yeah.
And I'll do that if people are buying. I'll fucking do it. But
if me, Sam, Skanga, Vinny.
Yeah, listen. If you pony up the cash, I'll get it done. But there was like a couple questionable like suggestions that came out of that whole conversation throughout the course of the years, where I was like, "There's no fucking way I'm getting that tattooed." I don't remember exactly what it was off the top of my head, but yeah, I put the kibosh on a few things.
Fucking friends, and they'll suggest a lot of weird shit. But right. I'm just saying,
I'm not gonna get a fucking comet of dicks across my chest or something like that. Like, I'll draw the line at that. I'm not going to do something like that. So yes, there's a line.
What if it was classy though?
No, I don't. You can put all the glasses you want on the dicks. It's not happening. You can put a bow tie on the dick. I'm not getting it tattooed on me.
We only draw those on people.
Yeah, that's true. So yeah, no, I draw the line. But
So before we start riding. I mean, we're pretty fucking long into this. This guy was talking about how he's not even gonna be able to fill up an hour, and we're like we're almost at 2 hours, and I feel like we still have so many more stories. Has this opened up the idea of doing something similar to this, like in another country, like
without a doubt, without a doubt. I would love to do Peru. I would love to do Machu Picchu. I heard backpacking in New Zealand is fucking spectacular. I'd love to do that. But again, it's about...
That's like a 17-hour flight.
Yeah, I see. Yeah, but that wouldn't bother me. That is a long fucking flight. But it's just about finding something. I gotta realize what I want to do next, and then work towards that. I don't know exactly what that is, dude. I do want to go. I want to take another cross country trip, and I want to go back to the Tetons, back up the glacier into Canada to Banff, and then make my way across Canada and go to like Maine and Vermont and all that stuff, and then come back home. I want to do that route as well because I think that route would be pretty damn sick. Plus, I want to get back to Wyoming and Montana because that was my favorite part of the country.
What about even like a southern route? Like, is it? Like,
So there's nothing that I know of in the South that I want to see. There's if there's a park, if I see national, but again, there's not many national parks. There's not.
I'll tell you, like I've been a ton of places, but my brother lived in Arizona, so like I went out to Arizona and I've been to Vegas a bunch of times. There's some pretty fucking
Well,
cool
that's
shit.
No. I was over there. I mean, that's
Out there,
west, south, yeah. But I mean, like south, like we're
Mexico.
talking about like Texas and fucking.
Texas and New Mexico are beautiful.
Well, see, to Texas, there was I was gonna go through Texas, but it was just way out of my way
That's
to
what it
get
is,
back
it's
to
out of the
Pal-
loop.
It's just it was so out of the loop.
That could be a trip in and into itself. I spent some time working in New Mexico, and I used to drive. I drove from El Paso, Texas, to I don't know what it was called. I was actually on an Indian casino called Mountain Gods, and that was like the first time I'd ever really seen real mountains out west, and it like changed my life. And like again, like you said, there was no light pollution out there, and looking up at the sky. And I still tell my wife about it. I tell her sometime I want to fly into El Paso with you. Maybe when the kids are a little bit older, I want to rent like a convertible Mustang and just drive along the border through New Mexico, just so that we could look at the sky at night. It would be worth it. The view is that impressive that it would be worth doing that trip just for that alone. So if you ever get a chance to go down there, put it on your to-do list for 10 years from now, after you get to go to Machu Picchu and New Zealand and all that.
Well, I heard the
stuff.
thing about Machu Picchu is I think it's a big rumor that they were talking about closing it because of all the heavy traffic and stuff like that over the years, that it's getting destroyed in a sense, and they're looking to close it. I don't know if they're looking to close it for good or looking to close it for a long time. I'm not sure. That's just shit that I heard, which makes me want to get there as soon as possible.
Yeah, before.
But again, there's so many other just other things I want to do. Plus,
Trying to hit Rapa Nui anytime soon, or what?
I would love to do that as well.
What is it?
Rapa Nui, Easter Island.
Oh,
The reason why I asked is because if you should watch the documentary 180 Degrees South.
Yeah, that's
they
such
go
a good
there.
documentary.
I just made a note actually in my little brown book
definitely,
that I carry around
definitely watch it,
watch that
dude,
documentary.
it'll inspire you to fucking
Netflix,
watch
it's
the
a
travel.
Netflix, sir? It's on Netflix?
Yeah.
I
It should
watched
still be
with
on.
you.
I'm pretty sure it's still on Netflix.
It's still on there. I watched it
alright.
recently. I watched it with you at your house, and
Yeah.
that's really that was
And
probably the turning
what
point
is that
for you.
about?
Yeah.
It's about a guy. His name's Jeff
Johnson.
Jeff Johnson, and he was a guy who kind of grew up like the son of hippies and stuff like that, and kind of always had like a wanderlust thing, and he got real into the rock climbing culture, and started rock climbing, and had always wanted to climb this mountain.
He watched a documentary
That was it, yeah.
on Yvonne
Short.
I forgot how to pronounce his last
I don't
name.
know. Yvonne something.
The
He's
owner of Patagonia and Doug Tompkins,
right.
the owner of North Face. He watched a documentary of them going to, I believe it's called Corcovado. I believe it's
Corcovado was the one that he wanted to go to. They didn't hike it.
no, I believe they did. I believe that's what they
No,
hiked.
not Pierre and Doug. They did.
I thought that.
He
Yeah,
went to
no.
Corcovado.
No, they did because the dude Doug Tompkins, the only one that actually hiked to the top of that and made it to the peak. He's the only one in history to make it to the peak of that mountain.
I thought you know what, I could be.
But yeah, he watched a documentary on them and he got inspired and he decided to do a documentary on his own. It was
cool.
It's definitely worth checking out, dude. It was absolutely amazing, and that's what inspired me to do a lot of this stuff. I was pushing that film on everybody.
we watched it and it was, it's really real good.
I might be watching it this weekend.
You definitely
or one
should.
after
Yeah,
the
you
week.
definitely should. I mean, there's a lot of. I mean, I can make a list of inspiring documentaries that I've watched.
Shoot me a text.
Yeah,
or a
dude,
DM.
I will because there's a lot, man, and that'll get you going.
Like
The reason-
I was going to say, like I said, I'm going to be planning a trip for not this year or next year, but probably 3 or 4 years from now when my son is a little bit older.
Uh-huh.
And we're gonna do a cross country trip. I'm not sure if we'll do it all in one shot or if we'll do each section each summer. But it's something that's on my radar and it's on my list of things to do.
Yeah, and whatever you want to do, dude, you look it up, man. And if I've been there, go here and then go there, and I'll give you.
That'll be awesome.
They have to give you information on it.
So we Googled the Machu Picchu thing, and of course, what is one of the sites we call it? Wanderlust Travel Magazine.
But it didn't say anything about a closing, and
No, what it seems like they're doing like temporary closings like throughout 2016
Maybe for maintenance. And
for
things.
maintenance
Okay.
and things to try and solidify some of the ground because of so much tourism in these areas.
without a doubt.
Yeah, I never realized how many tourists really went to things until I traveled through China, and they told me that the Great Wall of China in Beijing, in the summer, on a peak day, they'll have 500,000 people come through in one day. And it blew my mind because I started doing the math. And they charge you a couple bucks to get in. And you're saying, wow, they charge us like $6 US. That's a substantial $3 million a day.
That's another thing. If you do cross country or whoever is planning to do it, get a park pass.
Okay.
Dude, it's like $80 and it pays for itself. I mean, some parks get in like $30.
Mm-hmm.
I think I went to 16 national parks, so after like the third, fourth one, it paid for itself. You know.
Well, it's like I was saying. I was just in Manhattan for work this past week, and 2 of the days we drove in, and then I stayed in there for the next 5 days. But I was just stopping and thinking for a second about how many people go through the bridges and tunnels to go to Manhattan every single day.
Millions.
Mm-hmm.
I heard it. They said like it's upwards of 9 million daily.
Yeah,
I believe it.
I believe it.
And the money that generates.
And the crazy thing is, like, the bridges and tunnels, the whole reason there was tolls on them
To
was
keep them maintained, to maintain them.
Not even just to maintain it, was to pay for the construction.
The original construction.
The original construction. They were only supposed to have tolls on them for like 5 to 6 years or something like that. And now we're talking like 30, 40 years ago. Yeah. And they don't fucking maintain them. Like, we would drive through the Midtown tunnel and we were like, oh, great, I just spent $17 to fucking drive through this death trap, basically.
Another way to take money out of your pocket,
what the fuck is going on? But now it's so ingrained into the budget of New York City.
Of course.
Well, they rely on
That's what happens with a lot of things, man. It's fucked up.
Well, that's how they can pay the people that sit at either end of the tunnel $140,000 a year to sit around and do nothing all the time.
It's
It's expensive.
I got a bone to pick with some of those tunnel people too, man. I remember one of my old jobs, PSC. I would drive a lot, so we were in and out of the city a lot. And I remember I was driving home. We were doing a night job, and I'd worked all day. I started my day at like 4 in the morning, and then I got stuck doing a night job, you know. And I'm coming home. I was driving out of the Midtown Tunnel, and you know, you got to stop to pay toll or whatever. I was on my phone. My boss called me, so I'm on the phone. I'm like, "Hey, Russ, hold on 1 second." I pay the toll, and the guy's like, "Are you seriously on your fucking phone in front of me?" And I'm like, "Huh?" This is a toll booth guy. I'm like, "What?" He's like, "Get off your goddamn phone." And I'm like, "Whoa, dude." I'm like, "I'm just trying to pay and go through. Like, why are you so mad at me?" He's like, "I'm a police officer."
Yeah, they are.
And I'm like,
well, toll collectors are not police officers.
No,
some of the
are.
Port Authority.
Yes.
Because the guy fucking pulls his badge on me.
And they'll write you, and they will write you. They will write you
threatened to write me a
tickets.
ticket.
They'll write you tickets for expired registration, expired inspection.
Yeah.
They'll run the lot. I've seen them do it to people before. I actually got a ticket for an expired inspection.
I never knew that this was a
going
thing.
Through in one of the work trucks when I was commuting.
Yeah, I didn't even know, and I'm like, he pulls out his badge and flashes it on me. He's like, "This is disrespectful," and I put down my phone. I'm like, "Listen, officer, honestly, I had no idea." I'm like, "I didn't know you guys were Port Authority police officers." Thing. I said,
That's a ridiculous law anyway.
"It is."
I'm going to throw it out there. It's fucking ridiculous. Fucking ridiculous. It's just a money grab.
Of course. Like most laws are hard.
Give me an excuse to search your car type thing.
Without a doubt.
Half the time we see, I live on the road that the police station is on. Everybody's on their phone.
Yeah.
All the
Well,
detectives, all the police, they're all talking on the phone all the time.
Here's
doing
the problem.
police work.
Here's the problem. It's the law is not ridiculous, but
The law is ridiculous, and nobody believes in it at all. The texting while driving, I can understand.
But here's the thing: is
See, I'm keeping my mouth shut on this because I could rant for another hour or two on the whole system.
I'll say cell phone laws when it comes to driving are fucking ridiculous.
Well,
The police don't even believe in them themselves and break them all the time.
But here's the thing: you're thinking from your perspective, who's an intelligent person who can fucking handle doing two things at the same time. 90% of the people on the road can't fucking handle driving, period.
But they don't follow the law anyway, so what's the point of having it?
But if it's 90% of the people that fucking can't handle that shit...
Now let's let them weed themselves out. Sometimes you got to give... Sometimes a little bit of the good has to go with the bad. I'm okay with breaking a few eggs to make an omelet.
No, Eric, I have to agree with him because there's nothing...
bullshit. Hold on.
There's nothing stopping anybody from fucking being assholes anyway.
No, but
you're not stopping people from driving.
They're stopping people.
People still fucking drive all the time.
They do. But
probability-wise, more of the bad will die than more of the good. So I'm okay with that. It sucks if it's me or my family or one of my friends, but I'm willing to make that sacrifice for a better tomorrow for all of mankind.
What if it's your son?
I'll be very, very sad. I'll be broken.
Bullshit.
But I am willing to make that sacrifice for a better...
This is going down. Dark road
seriously. Seriously, kill it.
I'm an ends justifies the means type individual, and I understand that you have to break a few eggs to make an omelet. Am I willing to make that choice to sacrifice my son? No, but I'm willing to throw it up and roll the dice to get rid of that law that allows that allows people to get pulled over.
6th Borough signing out.
I'll just say, here's my thing to it is I also think that people should have mandatory fucking road tests every year.
Especially over the age of 60 or 65.
Fuck, I'll give you a fucking 50. Like,
I had somebody today.
Mandatory fucking road test every year.
I had somebody on the LA merge today into the LIE going 30 miles an hour and then proceed only to speed up to 45.
Oh, yeah.
And go in the middle lane.
Constantly.
And I think in my head, man, where's Darwin? Where's Darwin? I think that at least a half dozen times a day, I need Darwin to come down and save humanity.
I was driving down 347 the other day, and this person decided, and this is where 347 is 3 lanes, they decided they were going to make a right-hand turn from the far left lane.
Yeah.
Rush hour.
That happens.
And just...
And that was without a cell phone on her ear.
Yeah.
So, that's what I mean, though. The cell phone, I don't think it adds any more.
Yeah, no, it adds plenty more.
I don't think
it
so.
It adds plenty more.
I don't think so either.
To try to cut down on those fucking retards that can't drive, period.
I don't think it does anything. I understand where you're coming from.
I want them to weed themselves out. That's what I want. I want
not at my expense.
No seatbelt laws. No helmet laws.
No. Seatbelt laws and helmet laws are completely different. That's
no warning labels that say "Do not eat this ladder." Do not eat this. Do not eat these mothballs.
Ladder?
Yeah, there's like warning labels.
Who's eating a ladder?
There's a warning.
Yeah, there's some
John Stossel did a report, and one of the things he had was this ladder, and one of the warning labels on the ladder
all
was
to save people from lawsuits.
Don't eat the ladder.
It's just to save people from lawsuits.
Because if you didn't tell them that, well, why didn't you tell them?
Exactly.
Why is it not their fault that they fucking try? You know, they're on plastic bags and don't put this over your head.
It's fucking common sense, but
you have to tell someone that.
Yeah.
Well, are you serious? Like, don't just.
Well, we have like a real litigious culture here in the U.S. It's lawsuit culture, and it's set up that way to make money for attorneys who then make political donations.
Yeah, but judges, attorneys, all of
it all started from the goddamn McDonald's coffee cup thing.
Dude, that was
the catalyst for it all.
But she made out, whatever, more power to her.
In other countries, like in a lot of the Scandinavian countries, if you choose to sue someone for like a liability type thing or a malicious intent, like, oh, I got injured on your property, and if you lose the lawsuit,
they cut your hand off.
No, you have to pay the person's attorney's fees for them. Good. So if I were to sue you because I said, oh, I got distracted by your great hair while I was driving down the road and crashed my car, and then I lost that lawsuit, you would say, "Oh,
Guas
there's
would
no
just
way
lift your car up though. As you
If Skanga could have heard you pay that compliment to his hair right now, they might be scrapping.
When you come back, there might be a death match between you and Skanga. About
He
who's
actually
got the
would have
best
got
hair.
him. He would have walked into his room, got his singlet, and fucking came back out. He's wrestling on the floor right now.
He'd probably hit you over the head with his ukulele and shit. He'd get into it. He'd be pissed off.
One of the craziest things back in the day, I took a criminal justice class, and it was this dude who was suing homeowners because he broke not even into the property. He broke into this person's house and got bit by their dog. He broke into the not even a beware of dog on property. Like I was jumping over to get my frisbee or fucking whatever. He broke into their house to rob them. Was bit by a dog
And successfully sued.
Yeah, that
sued
dude,
this
that
fucking-
happens. That definitely happens. Dude,
Or you
system.
have to kill them.
Like I said,
seriously, like I'd be like, so it's okay if I would have shot this dude coming in, but because my dog was protecting me and my family, that's a problem. I have to pay for that.
So
but if I
lawsuit-
shot him,
Lawsuit culture.
again, the system is another 2-hour debate,
Yeah.
which
Yeah, this is-
I can't get into right
On
now.
that note, I'm doing the
Yeah.
wrap it up sign.
we're gonna wrap this up.
Yo, wrap it up, B.
Yo, wrap it up, B. Exactly.
Yeah.
So 6th Borough podcast signing off, guys.
That was Guas.
Yeah, make sure you follow Guas on Instagram at Revamped Reality. Spell it out this time, Guas. Play
Dude,
ball.
if you can't spell out, please don't follow me.
Fair
I'm
enough.
into that.
I'm into
I
it too.
feel like
Fair
it.
enough. All
You
right.
know, you're going to be getting those comments underneath your pictures, and it's all going to be emojis. And you're going to be like, I'm not into this language. This is just gibberish.
But check out the pictures; they're fucking amazing. Even if he doesn't want to be, man enough to admit that his shit is
Wonderful.
national